that issue has been fixed. We are now live on YouTube.
All right.
There we go.
Let's go.
Just missed approximately 20 minutes
Hey,
of the
all
show.
right, we'll take that. So if you are a regular YouTube watcher, go open up your computer, your phone, whatever, and you can find us on YouTube now. I figured I would just try every segment to see if the engineers at our software company that gets our stream set up every day, if they would have figured things out. And they did. It was only down for about an hour and a half. So cool. If you're a YouTube watcher, go find us on YouTube now. 580 Sports Talk is the name of our YouTube channel. Still streaming the video as well on Facebook and on Twitter. Wow, don't you love it when a plan comes together?
You really do.
Yeah.
You wish it could have come together 30 minutes earlier, but you don't get to be picky.
Nah, it'd be that way. So if you want to go find us on YouTube, you can now do that as well. How cool is it? I mean, it's not really cool. I wish the rest of the AL Central sucked so that the Royals could just dominate the division and make the playoffs. But the AL Central has not been as miserable as many people thought so far.
Not you, White Sox.
Yeah, no, you suck.
Yeah, and only getting worse. Looks like Yohan Moncada is going to miss 3 to 6 months with the adductor injury that he suffered. I feel bad for him. Talented player, but he has never been able to stay healthy and put it all together. So, yeah, bad to worse for the White Sox. So they did win yesterday. Shout out to them. But, yeah, a couple teams off to much better starts than maybe some anticipated. The Guardians are 8-3. They lost to the White Sox yesterday. That's pretty bad. But they're 8-3. Their bullpen's been really good. They got 5 different guys who pitched at least 5 innings already and have not allowed an earned run.
That's pretty wild, man.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. You know, the question for them long term is obviously going to be how they weather the loss of Shane Bieber for the season. He was pitching great his first 2 starts, but he's going to miss the rest of the year, needing Tommy John surgery. So how does their pitching depth hold up? But they've been swinging the bats pretty good. They're second in the American League in batting average. Jose Ramirez is doing Jose Ramirez things. Stephen Kwan is doing Stephen Kwan things. Josh Naylor's hitting the ball well. That's going to be a team that I think will be in the mix. I don't think their ceiling's super high, but they're always going to be tough to play. They're used to winning. They've got a decent culture there, and they do a fine job churning out arms. So they are, I think, built to, hang around and be relevant in the Central race all year. The other team's off to a good start is Detroit at 7-4, though they did just have a 3-game losing streak that they snapped with a win their last time out. They also have gotten great bullpen work. They haven't hit the ball great. They're 12th in the American League in OPS, but they're doing just enough to push games over the line as it currently stands. There are a lot of people who really liked Detroit coming into the year, and pitching is a big part of the reason why. And so far, you've seen some of that be as good as advertised, particularly Tarek Skubal at the top of their rotation.
Who, by the by, did you see that he has now jumped up to the shortest odds to an AL Cy Young? Yeah. Which is probably ridiculous a week and a half into the season, but still,
yes,
impressive. He's a good player.
Yes, very good pitcher. He 1-0 with a 2.92 earned run average through his first 2 starts, 15 strikeouts and 12 1/3.
Reggie Cleveland All-Star, Tarek Skubal, by the way.
100%. Modern day Reggie Cleveland All-Star legend. Him and Rodney Clark.
Rodney Clark.
Former Butler Bulldog.
We have a question here from YouTube about the Astros. Dan, I will posit this question to you. This is from Christopher. From the game last night, this is where it popped up. Is Jose Abreu toast?
I think he might be. I think the surest sign that he might be toast, the fact that you pinch hit for him, if you're the manager of the Astros, first-year manager Joe Espada, he pinch hit for Abreu there in the 10th inning. If you were watching along last night, if you were watching on TV, you saw a look on Jose Abreu's face that made it very plain that he probably hasn't been pinch hit for his entire life. That is not a common occurrence, but they sent Caratini up there instead of having Abreu hit.
Man, I watched a lot of Victor Caratini baseball in the early years of his career when he was the backup catcher for the Chicago Cubs. I like Victor Caratini. He's a good backup catcher. He's competent at the plate. He's competent behind the plate. He's a great backup catcher. Bro, if you're getting pinch hit for by Victor Caratini and you can walk and swing the bat, oh boy, that's not great.
Yeah, everything's going the wrong way. Strikeout rate, walk rate, exit velocities. It's all trending in the wrong direction. He's 37 years old. Yeah, he might be cooked.
He is this season 3 for 34.
With no extra base hits.
Yeah, that's
and
tough.
12 strikeouts to 1 walk. And he wasn't all that great last year, frankly.
No, he was, in fact, quite bad last year.
So, yeah, it might just be that it's the end of for a player who's had a really great career. Rookie of the Year, an MVP, a 2 RBI champ. Like, this was a very, very good player at his best. But
3-time All-Star, Silver Slugger 3 times as well. Was an old rookie, a defector from Cuba. He was 27 as a rookie. I love Jose Abreu's story. He's a guy who I remember when he was in Chicago, he didn't talk a lot in the clubhouse. The story was that he really kept to himself, and he didn't talk to media a lot. He was friendly, he was polite, but didn't talk to reporters much, was often seen not talking to his teammates. He would sit at his locker just reading. He was always with a book at his locker, and eventually someone asked, hey, what do you like to read? Like, is that something that helps you focus? And he said, no, it helps me learn English. Like, I want to be able to speak for myself and speak to my teammates and to reporters and to fans. So he just would read books alone in the clubhouse all day to help himself learn English, which I always thought was really cool. Not in a, well, you got to learn English to play baseball kind of way, but just in a, hey, I want to connect to other. I'm going to go out of my way to do it. I thought that was really cool. Who did that just the other day? Was it Ellie De La Cruz? He did his
it was Ellie De La Cruz from the Reds.
Yeah, for the first time he did his his media availability without a translator. And he was saying, I've been working really hard on it, and I want to be able to talk to the fans. And I thought, man, that's so cool. Like, that is awesome that you would actively want to do that.
2 other points about Jose Abreu that I think are worth making. One, a good point from the Top City Mail Supply text line from 785 that he's always been a guy Abreu has who is a slow starter. And this is true. The numbers back that up. His career OPS in the month of April is 745. And he progressively gets better as the months go on. So, and they say that sometimes about older players too, is they tend to warm up with the weather, and maybe Abreu will be one of those guys. Also, his nickname, speaking of weather, one of his nicknames is Mal Tiempo, which translates literally to bad weather, which is a badass nickname.
That is a badass nickname. Is that one from
that's from Baseball Reference. I don't know if he wore that during Players Weekend or what, but that is an extremely cool nickname.
That is an extremely cool nickname. Better for the Royals if Jose Abreu is not doing anything, though, because they've got 2 more games against the Royals coming up, including tonight, 6:40 first pitch, 6 o'clock pregame. You'll be able to hear that game here on 580 WIBW. Day game tomorrow, day baseball, the greatest 2 words maybe in the English language. Day baseball tomorrow. It'll be a 1:10 first pitch at the K. You can also hear that game right here on 580 WIBW. Coming up on the other side of this break, Mel Kiper, the most famous draft analyst out there. He's got a new 2-down mock draft out. Who does he have for the Chiefs? We'll tell you next on 580 Sports Talk. 580 Sports Talk. Brendan, Dan, and Spencer here with you. And again, we didn't have a YouTube stream up in the first segment of the show. It has since been fixed, and we are now on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. What a great time to go subscribe to our YouTube channel as we get close to 500. Just a little note for you. Mel Kiper Jr. of ESPN rudely did not post his newest mock draft on Monday when we have an entire segment dedicated to mock drafts. But he's a big name. He's got a big platform. And he's got a new 2-round mock draft out today. We'll get to some of the other notable picks here in a moment. But we'll give you the ones for the Chiefs first. He's got some trades in here, but none involving Kansas City. His first pick for the Chiefs, number 32 overall, end of the first round, Xavier Legette, wide receiver from South Carolina. Kiper writes, another mock draft, another wide out connected to the Chiefs. Legette made a leap in 2023, putting up 1,255 yards with 7 touchdowns. Had just 167 yards total the previous season. Then at the combine, ran a 4.39 40-yard dash. He also had other great testing numbers as well. So he solidified himself at the combine among the top 10 prospects at wide receiver. The Chiefs added Marquise Brown, but they need to add more pass catchers this offseason. So that's pick 1. Then at the end of the second round, Mel Kiper goes with a name we have heard a bunch as a first-rounder for the Chiefs, Kingsley Suamataia, offensive tackle, BYU. With 2023 starter Donovan Smith unsigned, the Chiefs have Wanye Morris at left tackle, but not much else, or literally anything else. They should bring in competition. Suamataia, who's my number 9 tackle in this class, played both left and right tackle in college, but made strides at left tackle last season. He's strong and quick and has the feet to get to the second level in the run game. That little note, by the way, very intriguing about Kingsley Suamataia. I love that pick. I would be content with Suamataia at 32. If you could get him at the end of the second round, I'm all for it. I think that would be a home run pick for the Chiefs. Big fan of that. I don't ever like to do well, this is never going to happen. This guy will never make it there. He'll never fit this team. I don't like doing that for the draft because what happens when you're wrong? Then you just look like an ass, and I do that enough myself every day. I don't want to do that more often. I have a very, very hard time seeing Xavier Legette as a Chiefs wide receiver. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. He runs a very limited route tree. I mean, he's very much a go and post guy and then wide receiver screens, which the Chiefs want you to be able to run something more complex. He didn't have to do that at South Carolina. Not to say that he can't, but that's not something that there's really a whole lot of tape of him doing, running a complex route tree. Yes, he is fast, but if you go look at guys who do tape breakdowns and draft analysis, whether it's Lance Zierlein on NFL Network, guys who just write for team blogs looking at potential prospects. In fact, I was reading today, Spencer, over at Hogs Heaven. They do the Commanders writing for SB Nation. Sure, you're very familiar. They wrote very similar things. Not a great separator. And against press coverage in college, not always pretty for Xavier Legette. When they played Tennessee this year in particular, it was difficult. He's not a great separator, which is something that the Chiefs really like. I feel bad. I don't mean to dump on the guy. I think he could be a good player. I just don't think it makes sense for the Chiefs. The other thing here, Brett Veach, since 2018, when he took over full drafting rights for the Chiefs, the full control of the draft for the Chiefs, Chiefs have made 41 draft picks since 2018. 8 of them have been 23 or older. Only 2 of those have been on day 2. None on day 1. 6 of them on day 3. They do not like using early draft picks, rich draft capital on older prospects. Xavier Legette is already 23 years old. All those things together, I don't think that makes sense for the Chiefs. I would much rather take a flyer on the speed of Xavier Worthy or the traits of A.D. Mitchell than I would reaching for Xavier Legette.
Yeah, I don't really see the fit. Like in Kiper's mock draft, he's got Keon Coleman from Florida State going 2 picks later to New England at 34, the start of round 2. And I think Coleman's a much better fit than Legette would be. Mm-hmm. Coleman, to me, is a guy who is able to make plays on those back shoulder throws, those contested catches. Kiper points out that he scored 5 of his 11 touchdowns on fades last year. And as much as I don't like the goal line fade, just as a matter of principle, the sideline fade is still very useful, especially when you have a great quarterback who can put it in a good spot.
Mm-hmm.
And the Chiefs haven't had a sideline contested catch winner since like when? Have they had that guy? And maybe that's a sign that their offense doesn't really need it, or you don't think that Mahomes is going to need a weapon like that necessarily. But I'd like to see what the offense would look like with a consistent ball winner down the sideline. And I think Keon Coleman could be that. Like if it were those two receivers on the board, it would be a no-brainer which one I would think that would better fit the Chiefs.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think Leggett is good, and much of what I've read and what I've already known about the player is he's good at the catch point. He's got strong hands. He wins a lot of those contested catches, which the Chiefs could use. That would be an asset where I would say, yes, that makes sense for the Chiefs. I think Keon Coleman can do that, and I think Coleman's skill set and athletic profile fits Kansas City better. Coleman, bigger, he's 6'3", 213 pounds. That's good wide receiver size. Here's a little interesting note for you. This is from Kent Lee Platt, who does the relative athletic score, the RAS. If you're a draft guy, I'm sure you've heard of that. He only ran a 4.64 40, which you might think, oh, we're drafting Dwayne Bowe. Like, is that really what we want to do? His 10-yard split, though, 1.5 seconds. He was one of the fastest players at the combine in terms of the first 10 yards of the 40-yard dash, and one of the slowest wide receivers when it came to actually getting to 40 yards. So when you think about that, you say, okay, well, he's not fast enough for me. I'm a little more intrigued by being able to get out of my break quickly than I am, what are you, 40 yards down the field? That to me is really fascinating. And I'm 100% with you. I would take Keon Coleman in a heartbeat if I was Kansas City. That's the kind of player that I think makes a really good fit and makes a whole lot of sense for Kansas City there. To be completely honest with you, the next two receivers that Kuiper has going too, he's got Ricky Pearsall from Florida at 38. Matt Verderame brought him up on Monday. And even McConkey, who we talked about on Monday's show, the wide receiver from Georgia at 39. I would go with either of those guys at 32 before I would go with Xavier Leggett if I'm the Chiefs. And again, maybe there's a team ahead of the Chiefs that says Leggett's profile fits for us. He could be a first rounder. That's why well, no way. Well, absolutely. That stuff doesn't make sense for the draft. I just don't think it's a Chiefs fit at all.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me. Like even going beyond just those guys, like Malachi Corley at 45.
What a fascinating prospect.
An after the catch monster. Like Chiefs like guys like that. Troy Franklin, I think has been in the tail end of the first round in a lot of mocks.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, I don't see like Leggett, being that much better of a prospect. The other question too about this mock draft, I'd be very surprised if Sua Mattia was there at 64.
I agree.
But if he
that's what I was thinking.
I mean, I think a prospect like that with the raw tools, like you run, don't walk to the podium. If you're Brett Veach and your thought is we got to get a starting caliber left tackle with one of our first two picks, and that guy's there at 64, you probably move up just to make sure.
Yep.
Depending on how the back end of the draft falls.
Agreed. No, that is a player if he fell to the 50s in the second round, I'd move up to get that player. I think first round, probably value. The later you get in the second round with a player that big with that kind of athleticism, I would say yes. I would absolutely go up and move up for a guy like that. By the way, other interesting notes on here. Mel Kiper has Cooper Beebe from Kansas State going 62nd, to the Baltimore Ravens. That right there, you were saying on Monday you didn't love him for the Chiefs because you didn't think that was a day one starter fit. You know where he would start day one? Baltimore. Yeah, I think that'd be a perfect fit for them. I believe that is the only local player that Kiper has in here. I do know that Austin Booker from KU, he was at the Chiefs local pro day the other day.
Yeah, Chiefs had, I think it was 33 local prospects who were at the pro day. I was looking at the list earlier. I'm trying to pull it back up. They were looking at one of the great long snappers in the game. Brandon Plattner was there from Kansas State. So was KT Leviston, Hayden Gillum, Khalid Duke, Christian Duffy, Phillip Brooks, and Cooper Beebe. That was the K-State representation. From KU, Craig Young was there, Devin Phillips, Mike Nowitzki, Rich Miller, Dylan McDuffie, Quentin Lassiter, the kicker Seth Keller, Mason Fairchild, Austin Booker, and Jason Bean.
There's like a handful of KU players. I'm really interested to see what the NFL thinks of them. I know there's a lot of guys who love Booker, who think he's a sky's the limit kind of player. I think Pooney might go day 2 because he's so versatile. You've heard me talk about Michelle
I think
Pooney.
he's a top 100. He got a chance to go in the top 100.
I wonder if a team would tell Jason Bean that they'll take him if he's going to move to wide receiver. I don't think Jason Bean's an NFL quarterback. I don't. I wonder if someone would take a 7th round flyer on Jason Bean because of that speed and that frame, just as a gadget player. I mean, you can't play him on special teams, which probably hurts him. I wonder if someone will take a flyer. He'll end up in a camp. He's too athletic to not end up in a camp for sure. Any other picks in this Mel Kiper mock draft that really stand out to you? Guys who we've talked about a bunch. Xavier Worthy, he's got going 23rd to the Chargers. That's a trade back in this scenario. That's one we've had end up with the Chiefs a bunch of different times. And I didn't see where A.D. Mitchell ended up. 29th, so just before that Chiefs pick as well to Detroit. Any others really stand out to you through this?
Just staying in the division. He's got Denver taking Quinyon Mitchell, the cornerback out of Toledo, who's got like unbelievable athletic numbers. And certainly
very fast.
The Broncos have a star corner on one side. The thinking is you put another one on the other side. You recreate the good old days, the no-fly zone. Did you know they called it that? Because they did. They called it that.
I did know that.
When it was Aqib Talib and
Chris Harris.
Chris Harris.
Yeah.
If the Broncos take a corner 12 overall, that fan base is going to react poorly.
They're in such a tough spot. And it's their own doing. Maybe I feel for their fans. I don't feel for the team. But they're in a tough spot where you can, I think, make an argument with where they are drafting. Do we reach for a quarterback or trade up to go take a quarterback? Because you're not getting Caleb Williams. You're, in all likelihood, not getting either Drake May or Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
So do you reach on one of those other guys, a Nix or a trade up for McCarthy or a Penix, all of whom are big shrug. Maybe they're good, but it's far from a sure thing. Or do you say, we've got enough holes, we have to build up the rest of the roster, and we'll find our quarterback later? That is, generally speaking, people love to say that as an approach. They're like, well, we'll get the quarterback later. Okay, well, what if you don't get a good quarterback later? Then what do you do? I would normally say take the quarterback, but I don't know that any of those guys are going to be good in the NFL. Like, I'm certain Caleb Williams is at least going to be decent to good, which is about as nice as you can say about any top prospect that you think they will probably be pretty good. I think he has potential to be great. I don't know that about Bo Nix. I kind of doubted about Bo Nix. I have my worries about J.J. McCarthy, and I like J.J. McCarthy, but that's the risk you're in. Denver needed to go like 2-15 this past year.
Yes.
That's what they needed, but you gave up tons of capital to get Sean Payton, and that's never going to happen with Sean Payton.
No. And then it really wasn't going to happen when they accidentally beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead when Mahomes had doo-doo butt and wasn't playing his best, and that tricked him into thinking, hey, we can make a run at the playoffs. They could not, in fact, make a run at the playoffs, and they ended up in the middle of the draft. And, yeah, it's a tough spot for them to be because out of the quarterbacks, like, there are a lot of them I like certain traits of, but Caleb Williams is the only one I'd bet on. Like, if I'm a general manager and I'm picking a quarterback and I'm not picking Caleb Williams, there is at least a small part of my brain thinking this is the guy that's going to get me fired.
I'm close to saying I would bet on Drake May. There's a little bit of me that thinks some of the recklessness is a worry. The rest of the team around him wasn't all that good this year, though. So I'm close on Drake May. He's really close. But, yeah, I mean, Caleb Williams, I think he's really good. That's not a real great piece of analysis, but I really think he's a dude. My dad and I were talking the other day about this. I guess it was a while back. It was when Fields finally got traded. And he straight up asked me, like, do you think this guy from USC is any good? Like, do you think he'll be good? And I said, no, this is a really good pick. Like, I actually think, Dad, for the first time in your whole life, the Bears might have a real quarterback. I think he is going to be a stud. By the way, Spencer, Mel Kiper has Jaden Daniels number 2. That's your pick. That's what you want, right?
Yeah, that's my pick. I think an interesting one in here is his projected second round that he has the Giants trading up for Bo Nix.
I would not do that. but I get it if you think you need a quarterback, and they do. Like, Daniel Jones is not it.
I think Denver's taking Knicks at 12, or they're moving back and taking Knicks later in the first round. What do you think about when you think about what was Drew Brees better at than anybody maybe in his era, as good at as anyone ever?
Completing passes.
Yeah.
Putting the ball where it's supposed to go so that the receiver in the offense can catch it. Bo Nix just set the NCAA record for completion percentage. I just think that Sean Payton looks at the quarterback as a bit of a point and shoot. You know, just put the ball where I tell you to put the ball. Be accurate and put the ball where I tell you to put the ball. You don't. It doesn't have to be a great arm. Drew Brees had a great arm, but it wasn't like, we don't think of his arm like we think of like Brett Favre's arm or Mahomes' arm.
Right.
The arm talent that was really the separator for Brees was his ability to put it through a thimble. And if you think that Nix can do that, then he's the guy for the Sean Payton offense. That's why I think they're going to take Nix and be a little disappointed. But again, I'm iffy on a lot of these guys. Like, iffy's kind of harsh.
Yeah.
Like, I could see this being an all-time quarterback class, and I could also see Caleb Williams being the only one that ever plays in a Pro Bowl.
I think that's fair. You seem to disagree.
I mean, I'm hoping.
Are you all the way in on Daniels?
I think so. I've been watching more of his film. I think I'm all the way in on him.
For your sake, I hope he works out if he's the pick.
Look,
he's super fun. He's just a crash test dummy. That's what I'm worried about.
Look, if I could have it as I wanted to have it, it would be Caleb Williams.
Well, sure. I don't
want him to trade up again.
I would agree with that for sure. Coming up to lead off the 3 o'clock hour, the latest on the Kentucky coaching search. 3 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan. That's Dan. That's Spencer. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Live on 580 AM, 104.9 FM, online at 580WIBW.com, and again on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of our YouTube channel. Why don't we dive right on in to the Alpha Media 2024 Choose Your Trip contest. Head to our website. That's 580WIBW.com. And right in the middle of the homepage, you will see the link to Choose Your Trip. It is a nationwide contest being run by Alpha Media where someone is going to win a trip to anywhere they choose. Airfare covered, hotel covered, all of that stuff covered. You get to, again, choose your trip. But you've got to enter the keyword. This word is active until 4 o'clock, and in the 4 o'clock hour, we will have a new keyword for you to enter. Your 3 o'clock keyword is, do we have any guesses? Any guesses for the word?
No.
Spencer?
It could be anything.
Niagara Falls.
That'd be a long one, but it's not a bad guess. Our word for the 3 o'clock hour is
Airplane.
favorite. 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 So head to 580WIBW.com, click on Choose Your Trip, enter the keyword favorite, and you will be entered to win a trip to wherever you want to go.
Favorite was a tough one to spell when I was a kid. I remember really needing focus on how to spell favorite.
I was always
right was how I would get it in my head.
Yeah, I was always pretty good at spelling as a kid. A word I still can't do though, occasion and occasionally. Can't do it.
I always mess up restaurant.
Really? RESTAURANT?
Yeah, I don't know why. When I type it, it doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah, mine is privilege.
PRIVILEGE?
Sure. Yeah, I try to throw an A in there or an extra E, and it always like that.
Privilege.
That is the one word that I can't spell.
No, I get that. That's a tough one.
That's the one I always trip over. I'm pretty good with the other ones. But
you won a spelling bee or something, didn't you?
I got to the district spelling bee
District
in fifth grade.
spelling bee. That's what it was.
Yeah. No further questions.
Yeah, I was always pretty good at it.
So the written portion was the part that I did. I won the school one, and then I did well enough in the district, the written test to get to the stage test. And if you win the district, you go to state. You win state, you get to go, be on TV, the Scripps Hour National Spelling Bee. And my first word, and basically they give you a warm-up round to get comfortable with spelling words out loud in front of a crowd. And my warm-up word was pilot, and my head said, all right, there's an O in there. Don't forget it. And not only did I not forget it, I put it in the wrong place. And I did not complete spelling the word because I knew I'd gotten it wrong and just walked off the stage. And that was it for me. That was the end of my competitive spelling career. PILOT. I know how to spell the damn word. I've never misspelled it since. Please believe I will never misspell it the rest of my life.
How old were you?
This was fifth grade, so I would have been 10.
Okay. Yeah. That's we didn't have a spelling bee. That wasn't something we did. I don't know why, but we never had one of those in District 102 back home. In this 3 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk, we'll get to the latest on Scott Drew, the Kentucky coaching search. What does that mean possibly for K-State? We'll get to all that here momentarily. We've also got one gotta go and some more draft talk to get to. NFL.com put together a piece, teams that need to ace the draft this year. Eric Edholm wrote that for NFL.com, and I have a disagreement with Mr. Edholm about who he had at the very top. It's a team we've actually already talked about on the show today. That's coming up later on this hour. Your texts are welcome on the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429, or you can leave us a comment on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. No more wasting money on metal pieces that leave you with unnecessary leftovers, because Top City Metal Supply will cut the exact lengths of aluminum, steel, and stainless steel you need, tailored to your project's specifications. Start optimizing your budget with Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, just north of Forbes Field. The Kentucky coaching search is wild, and it feels like every minute there's a new update, there's a new wrinkle, there's a new joke being tossed out there. It really appears that no one knows exactly what is happening. We have heard, or we did hear this morning, that there was a plane, a private plane chartered, I believe, by Kentucky. It might have been Kentucky's own plane that was traveling from Waco to Lexington Scott Drew, as it turned out, was not on that plane. And we have since found out that at the time that some people thought Scott Drew was interviewing in Lexington, Kentucky, he was actually at work with a booster, a guy who works at a bank, a big-time, big-money donor who works at, Alliance Bank?
I believe that's correct.
In Waco. They were out at lunch. They were at a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
That's where that picture came from yesterday.
They were about to, today. They posted
today.
Today.
He was digging into the chips, the pre-meal chips and salsa.
So even that, and this tells you about Kentucky fans and just college sports fans in general, even that has led to scrutiny. Like people saying not a single chip has been eaten. That salsa is untouched. The lemon is right at the very top of his glass of water. Are they actually having lunch or was this staged? Then you had someone, not even a Kentucky fan, who did some real digging. You can see in this picture of Scott Drew that he and his pal from the bank in Waco, Eric Shiro from Alliance Bank, you can see in the background at this Mexican restaurant, Family Feud is on TV. Someone went digging and found that the episode being aired in this picture from the Mexican restaurant in Waco is of a 2020 episode of Family Feud. Great comeback. They only had 43 points through the first 3 answers of Fast Money. They still came back and won. According to the TV guide for today, at this given hour in Waco, Texas, Family Feud was scheduled to be aired. However, a 2022 episode of the show, not a 2020 episode.
Maybe.
Gaffed by the TV station or elaborate ruse by Scott Drew?
Maybe, just maybe, the TV had like a Roku or something, and they were watching the Family Feud Classic channel on
Could be
Pluto TV. Some Family Feud classics. I don't know how far back or not the Family Feud Classic archives go, but maybe they were just showing a classic episode. Maybe just running Family Feud throughout the day.
Dick Vitale tweeted 2 hours ago about my BBN scouts tell me there's a special guest in Lexington right now.
No one's giving Dick Vitale back.
Yes, Scott Drew is in town. Is it to schedule at Kentucky men's basketball? He's kind of messing around.
I love Dick Vitale Twitter so much. No one really knows exactly what's going on here. Ryan Black, who used to cover K-State for the Manhattan Mercury, he currently works in Louisville at the Courier-Journal. He tweeted this earlier today. Said, here's the latest I've got on Baylor coach Scott Drew in the Kentucky search as of Wednesday. A trusted source tells me Drew is, quote, really struggling with the decision whether to remain at Baylor or leave for Kentucky. There has also been message board chatter today that one of the big hangups is Mrs. Drew doesn't really want to leave Waco. In fact, they're building a gigantic house in Waco right now, which the rumor is she has designed completely on her own and doesn't want to uproot and leave for Lexington.
Hey, look, that seems to be the main reason Dan Hurley's not super interested in decamping the Northeast.
Yeah, Andrea Hurley has absolutely no desire to leave the Northeast. None.
What was Dan Hurley's line? He said, I can't afford to get divorced. I just started making money.
That's a great line. I don't know. I said yesterday that I think Scott Drew takes it. I'm going to give you the cop-out answer today. I think it's 50-50 Scott Drew takes it. If he doesn't, like we also said on yesterday's show, it is a disaster for Kentucky because they're not going to get Hurley. They're not going to get Billy Donovan. If Scott Drew turns them down, what do you do? Do you suddenly have to call Chris Beard? You have to go for Sean Miller? That nightmare scenario for them. Absolute nightmare. You're not getting Bill Self. You're not getting Mark Few. You're not getting John Shire or Hubert Davis. You're not getting another Blue Bloods coach. What do? You go stick it to Indiana and you go hire Mike Woodson away? They would drive him to Lexington.
Yes, they would. They would help him back.
I mean, I don't know what you would do if you were Kentucky if you don't get Scott Drew, which is one of the things that still leads me to believe maybe it's more than 50-50 that he ends up going. Because I don't think Kentucky can stop making offers.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you want to take it for 8? Oh, what about 9? Okay, what about 10? What about we will hire a truck to move the house you are building right now in Waco, and we will move it to the rolling hills of Lexington, Kentucky? Would you come then? Like, I don't know if you have an option if you're Kentucky to stop making offers at this point, because you just need to get a guy like this. And Drew would be a home run hire.
Yes, he would. I know that there is a subset of the BBN, the Big Blue Nation, who would be against this. I don't understand what their problem would be with a guy who has won consistently and won a national championship at a program that wasn't doing any of those things before he got there. A program that was quite literally a national disgrace before he got there.
Yes.
Like, you cannot be more down bad than Baylor was when Scott Drew took that job. And look at what they are now. Consistently a top 25 program, consistently a contender in the toughest basketball league in America. And again, a national champion. You give that coach the infrastructure that's in place and the tradition that's in place at Kentucky, you're going to win a lot of basketball games.
A lot of basketball games. A title, by the way, more recently than Kentucky as well.
Yes.
So why does this connect to us? Other than it's a big national story, a big college basketball story. It could impact the Big 12. We've got a YouTube comment here from Tyler. Says, Tang to Lexington? No, I don't think Jerome Tang would end up in Lexington. But if the Baylor job opens, suddenly there is a glaring hole in Waco, Texas, where Jerome Tang was an assistant for 19 years, where Texas Tech coach Grant McCasland was an assistant coach for many years. And suddenly Baylor, have multiple former assistants spread out across the Big 12 and a big-time opening for their head coaching job there. And you have to imagine one of those guys is going to be the favorite to then land the Baylor job. And that, I think, should at least concern Kansas State fans. I don't know that he would be the favorite. I don't know that he would be the first call. I don't know that he would take it, because I do think there is something to the Tang family has relocated to Manhattan. His kids are growing up in Manhattan now. I believe Jerome Tang has a daughter who is going or about to go to Kansas State, if I'm not mistaken. I know assistant coaches have kids who are going to Kansas State and are ingratiated in the Manhattan community. Maybe that is enough, and the love of K-State is enough for Jerome Tang to say, even I don't want to go home to that. But I don't think it's something you can just brush off either.
Rick Bozich of WDRB in Louisville reached out to 5 current Division I head coaches, 1 former Division I head coach, 2 Division I assistants, and 7 media members who cover the game on a national level, and polled them. Who do you think Kentucky ought to hire? One of the 8 coaches that Bozich spoke with told him, quote, "What I think will happen, Tang didn't go to Arkansas because he knew Drew to UK, Tang to Baylor." So there is one coach, at least, one person with some ties to major college basketball who believes that that would be the way the dominoes fell, that if Scott Drew ended up in Lexington, Jerome Tang would take the Baylor job. Here's why I don't necessarily believe that to be true. If Jerome Tang was negotiating with Arkansas, but negotiating might be too strong a word. If there were discussions between Jerome Tang and or his representation and Arkansas, was there any inkling at that point on that day where all of that was happening that there was any chance the Kentucky job was going to be open?
Not publicly, certainly.
So, and certainly there's the possibility that Tang more tied in to the coaching profession, Tang's representation more tied in. Maybe they did know something, but it's one thing to remove your name from consideration for a job. Coaches do that all the time. Coaches typically don't do that with social media posts. Coaches typically don't do that with like videos proclaiming that you're staying in one spot. I do not think that's a step that Jerome Tang would have taken if all along his thought was, this is only open for show. The job I really want isn't open yet. I'm leaving for Baylor as soon as Scott Drew takes the call from the people in Lexington.
Yeah, I think it is possible that is the scenario, that is the final outcome that ends up happening.
Certainly a non-zero chance. Yeah.
But that explanation just feels too convenient. I mean, I have no reason to believe that Jerome Tang had a farce set of conversations with the Arkansas people. I have no reason to believe that at all. Or that Chris Beard was like, you think Chris Beard has taken an interview where he knows he's not taking the job at a better job than what he has?
No,
I don't think so. Because to be honest with you, I think Chris Beard would like to get back to a major. Ole Miss is a major program, but let's also be serious about what Ole Miss basketball is.
it's not Texas.
It's not Texas. It's not Arkansas. It's certainly not Kentucky. I don't think he's taken an interview at Arkansas unless he thought, I might take the job at Arkansas. Because Chris Beard doesn't have any connections to Ole Miss. His connection to Ole Miss is they hired him when no one else would because he was a pariah, like of his own doing. Let's make that very clear. So I don't. That feels to me like a very convenient reverse narrative of how this could go down if it ends up happening.
That's well put. It does. It feels like you're reverse engineering the narrative a little bit there. I do not believe that the way that negotiations went with Jerome Tang in Arkansas were in any way related to a theoretical possibility of the Baylor job coming open almost immediately after. Anything's possible, but I don't believe that that's very likely. Let's say that.
No, I would agree with that. 100%. I would agree with that.
Now, that being said, as we've talked about, the understanding on Friday night, when Jerome Tang put that video out, when his assistants all posted essentially statements of unity that, hey, we're here at Kansas State to stay, the understanding was that part of that came with a contract extension. And that's not public yet.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know any details. We don't even know if the ink is dry. We don't know if there's any ink on it. And the longer you go without anything signed, sealed, and delivered, the more you wonder. So, like, I'm not telling any Kansas State fan, hey, you have 100% certainty, nothing to worry about here. Like, I understand where the concern is coming from, but I also don't necessarily believe that Baylor, a program now where the expectations are much, much higher than they were when they hired Scott Drew, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jerome Tang has the least head coaching experience of any of the possible candidates. He may have been at a Power 5 school longer than Grant McCasland, but Grant McCasland was a head coach longer.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul Mills has been a head coach longer. Paul Mills just finished up his first year at Wichita State, previously at Oral Roberts. Those coaches have more experience. That might be more desirable to Baylor than a coach who's only been a head coach for 2 years.
That's kind of where I'm hung up on it. Is like, yeah, there's a possibility, but like clearly there's more experience leading a program with someone else that's been with that program before.
Yeah, no, I think that's entirely valid and an entirely normal, state of mind, like a normal, how do I want to describe this? Like trail of logic. I think that makes a lot of sense that could be how this ends up shaking out. I think it is possible Tang takes it. I think it is very possible that he's not even the first call that Baylor makes. The other thing, too, to the narrative that coach brought up to Rich Bozich of WDRB in Louisville is if Jerome Tang knew all along the Baylor job is going to be open and I'm going to take it when Scott leaves, I don't think you put out a video. I don't think you make a statement like that. I think your agent calls up Kellis Robinette and says, hey, Jerome's not leaving. And then, or it doesn't have to be Kellis, but it tells someone at the Mercury or at the Star or tells Fitz or someone, hey, Tang's not taking that job. And then it gets out and then it still kind of lingers. But okay, we have reputable media members who have been told that's not going to happen. To go out and make it was a video, but to make a statement like that feels a little bit different to me if you are Jerome Tang. And again, it might still end up that way, that he ends up at Baylor again. There is a very pathway this could take that would lead him back to Baylor. I just think that explanation is too convenient.
Yeah, little too convenient. For the record, the other names that were brought up by the survey respondents in Rick Bozich's article, Bruce Pearl.
Not happening.
Jai Lucas, currently an assistant at Duke, was an assistant under Cal for 1 year at Kentucky.
Not happening.
No, they're not hiring an unproven assistant. That's absolutely not happening. Sean Miller at Xavier, who we've talked about.
Disaster.
Brad Stevens, current president of basketball operations for the Boston Celtics.
Why not just try to resurrect John Wooden? Hey, come on.
Nate Oates at Alabama, which you already know isn't happening. At least he's been public saying that's not happening. Already mentioned Scott Drew, Billy Donovan,
who has said he's not going to do it.
And the leader with the most votes of any of the respondents, St. John's head coach, Rick Pitino.
Rick Pitino.
I honestly think they'd call him before they called anybody in that Pearl, Shaka, Sean Miller, Chris Beard group. They just see if Pitino want to come back.
Well, sure, he's a better coach than all those guys.
Yes.
He's absolutely a better coach than all those guys. I mean, does he have any connection to St. John's that would keep him there? I mean, he's from New York. He coached the Knicks. But, I mean, is he dying to, I got to be a St. John's lifer. I got to bring the power back to the Red Storm. No. Absolutely not. If Kentucky called him back, he would go back. I really think they would. I think
they would, too.
Do you know what he did his last 3 years at Kentucky before he left for the NBA?
His last 3 seasons?
His last 3 seasons.
He won 2 national championships.
Elite 8, champion, runner-up.
Okay, yeah, it was two title games.
I mean, that's outrageous. He's an incredible coach. Incredible coach. If you can't get Scott Drew, honestly, I'm just asking, what's it going to take? What is it going to take for you to get back to Lexington? Finish your career here. I know he's older, and it's probably hard to sell a 71-year-old. He's going to turn 72 before next season starts. Rick Pitino's going to coach till he dies. Rick Pitino's not retiring. He's going to coach till he dies. Like, what is it going to take to get you back here? And you make that call.
Yeah, Pitino's not afraid of the new rules because he never followed the old ones.
Right. And now the new rules are what he was doing in the first place.
Exactly.
No, that's what I would do. If it's not Drew, because you're not getting Hurley, you're not getting Donovan. If it's not Drew, you just do whatever it takes to get Pitino back. And if not, disaster. Utter disaster if you're the University of Kentucky. We have one gotta go coming up on the other side of this break. Then some more NFL draft to get to coming up in this 3 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. One gotta go time here on 580 Sports Talk, a Wednesday staple of the show. 4 options. One's gotta go. All right, you are in the postseason and you're the Kansas City Royals, hypothetically. You're shortening the rotation. You don't have to have a 5-man rotation. Really, you don't even need a 4-man rotation. You got enough off days. You're only going to use 3 pitchers. Alec Marsh is already out, obviously. You got to take someone out of the rotation. Who's dropped off? Cole Reagans, Brady Singer, Michael Wacha, Seth Lugo.
That's an interesting hypothetical. I think my initial lean is Lugo because he has more experience as a relief pitcher.
Good point.
So that would be my initial lean. But now you could argue for, I mean, obviously Reagans is your game 1 starter.
Mm-hmm.
Wacha's got a lot of postseason experience. Yeah, I would say Lugo. I would say I'd move him and know that that's a guy who has relieved before and he's not going to let, I could bring him in the middle of an inning. He's not going to be overwhelmed by that moment. He knows how to prepare himself to come in and pitch in relief. I would trust that. So, yeah, that would be the move for me.
Who are you dumping?
Same, Lugo.
Yeah, I think I would probably go with Lugo as well, assuming you get this version of Brady Singer for the rest of the season.
Right.
I mean, if we get to October and Brady Singer is hot and cold like he's been for a lot of his career, I think it becomes a much more interesting discussion with him because with a limited mix of pitches, maybe you think he can be a bullpen guy for 1 October. But as things currently stand, I would probably move Lugo too. It's a more seamless transition, I think.
I love that we're doing Royals postseason hypotheticals on April 10th.
Yeah.
Catch the fever, fellas. I love it. I got a baseball one got to go as well. The Baltimore Orioles are calling up the number 1 prospect in all of baseball, Jackson Holliday, son of former Rocky and Cardinal Matt Holliday, to make his major league debut tonight. He's in the lineup for the Orioles. He's going to bat 9th, play second base, wear number 7, like his dad did in his St. Louis prime. That means that on Major League Baseball Pipeline's top 100 prospect list, 4 of the top 6 prospects in the game are going to be everyday players for their respective teams as we get 2024 rolling. One's got to go. Jackson Holliday of the Orioles, Jackson Chourio of the Brewers, Evan Carter of the Rangers, or Wyatt Langford of the Rangers.
So Holliday stays. I picked Evan Walker to win Rookie of the Year.
Evan Carter,
excuse me. Evan Carter to win Rookie of the Year 2 weeks ago. So he is going to stay. And to be completely frank with you, I know a lot of Brewers fans. I am not one. I know a lot because they're also Packers fans.
Sure.
I find Brewers fans to be more obnoxious than Packers fans are. That is extremely biased, but I feel like they are more obnoxious. And I think it would be very funny for them to get very excited about Jackson Chourio only to lose him. So I am removing him.
Okay.
This is entirely 100% my own personal biases at play. He looks like he's going to be a really good player, though.
Yeah, he looks like he looks like a real hitter. Spencer, your answer cannot be I'm ditching all of these guys for Dylan Cruz and James Wood. So
that was my answer.
I know you have to give a better one.
I don't know. It's a hard one.
That's the point.
It's a good one. Well done. It's a good question.
Give me the same one. Brennan had Chourio.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, it's between Chourio and Carter. Chourio because he might have a lot of swing and miss in his game and not much like patience. Carter because we still haven't really seen him hit lefties yet. So that's my concern for Carter is he's not going to have the power of Chourio and he might struggle against same hand pitchers. So I would say Carter. I think Holliday could be like generational. And I think Langford's going to be really, really good. So, Carter for me, just for the sake of being different.
What you got for us, Spencer?
This is a Topeka kind of vibe here because one just opened. One of these restaurants just opened.
Okay.
And not in Topeka, they don't have it, but around the area, they have another one. And I know you like it.
Okay.
One's got to go. Top fast food chicken chains. Chick-fil-A, Popeyes, Raising Cane's, or Wingstop.
Chick-fil-A, Popeyes, Raising Cane's, Wingstop. I mean,
they all have to go in my belly.
Cane stays, obviously. You know that's not going anywhere. Yeah. I enjoy Popeyes quite a bit. I'm going to keep Popeyes. And despite the fact that I have slipped one level of my rewards level at Chick-fil-A. I still eat it quite. In fact, I got Chick-fil-A just the other day. I didn't get a sandwich though. I just wanted a milkshake, so I went and got a milkshake. So I'm keeping Chick-fil-A. I think I'd dump Wingstop. I like Wingstop. I do. I love wings. I love them a great deal. I just had some on Friday, in fact, and I would dump Wingstop though.
So I am the leading Popeyes evangelist, perhaps in the state of Kansas. So they're obviously staying. Of the other three, Raising Cane's probably has the least versatile menu.
Yeah, that's true.
So that might be the lean. Also, that I can't, if I want to go get it, I have to drive to Lawrence or Manhattan.
Yeah.
So for me right now, that would be Cane's has to go. But if anyone would like to build a Raising Cane's in Topeka, get started. Buddy.
I know there's
chip,
a spot.
Chop,
there's a spot right over there in front of Sam's Club.
there are several spots.
Yep.
There's one big spot though.
Man, R.I.P. to the Steak and Shake.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaker.
Happy hour. Oh, get a shake for $2.50 or whatever.
That was a heartbreaker.
Absolute gem. Coming up next here on 580 Sports Talk, what teams have to get the draft right this year? And are the Chiefs in that category? I don't necessarily think that they are. That's coming up. You're listening to 580 Sports Talk. Spencer, I cut you off before we went to commercial break. You did not get to answer your own one gotta go. You are welcome to give us your answer to one gotta go, though. I apologize.
Yeah, my answer is this is no slander against said company. But every time I've gotten Wingstop and ordered like on the app takeout, it's taken like 15 minutes longer than they told me on the app. And my order 2 of the 4 times hadn't been right.
And that must just be part and parcel of the experience. Just like when you go to Popeyes, something is incorrect. It might be as small as sauce or a 5-minute wait on spicy. It might be something as big as you got a box full of biscuits. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And that's part of the fun.
2 important things to note here. One, I ordered Wingstop, a huge meal from Wingstop, the night of the first round of the 2021 draft, when at about 5:00 p.m. that night, there were a rash of rumors that Aaron Rodgers was going to be traded to the Denver Broncos before the night was over, with multiple Packer and Bronco reporters both saying it. And that was one of the saddest meals of my whole life. I was in such an awful mood, genuinely upset. I did not eat Wingstop for like 2 years. I was so
negative connotation.
No, horrible connotation. Also, this from Clayton on YouTube. Man, if we had a Bojangles here, that would be so fire. Yes, fact. I would eat it every day. It would either be lunch or dinner or breakfast every single day.
Little Bowberry,
not a big
breakfast.
bow guy.
What? Why not?
It might be because in college I got free chicken from there a lot when Marshall basketball had a promo with them.
Oh man!
So you're maybe bowed out a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh man!
And then it was like a thing for like 3 years where it was big, and then all of a sudden like both of them in town just closed.
Man, they gave away too much free chicken, apparently.
I guess.
I would have kept them in business myself, probably.
It is literally the only thing about having a flight connect through Charlotte. You will likely be 2.5 hours late to wherever your destination was, but they've got a Bojangles in the airport.
Is that America's worst airport?
Yes, fact. Guarantee. Like, oh, LAX is bad. It's not worse than Charlotte. Oh, man, I hate flying through DFW. It's so big. Not worse than Charlotte. O'Hare? Nope, not even close.
DFW's great.
I like DFW. I know people who don't. It's so big. I got to take a train. So what? It's clean. There's a ton of stuff. They have a Fridays in the airport.
I think they have a Papados, too.
They do. I also have connected early morning flights through there multiple times. Popeye's breakfast. Always.
See, I'm out on airport food because it's so expensive.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's...
There's a certain understanding that you reach, though. Like, if you have to eat at an airport, you understand you're going to pay $15. Like, at a
got Chick-fil-A.
Bare minimum. Like, no matter what. It's like, would you like the smallest thing on the menu? That'll be $15.
I got Chick-fil-A at the Tampa airport, and I'm pretty sure it was like $24.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, 100%.
I believe that.
Like a sandwich and a small fry. Yeah, $24.99.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat it, though. If I want it, I'm going to eat it.
Yeah. You know, what you tell yourself when you're preparing is, if I don't check a bag, I could eat at the airport.
See,
unless you fly Southwest and your bags are checked for free.
Well, there you go. You fly Southwest, you can eat twice at the airport.
Another selling point of the old Kansas City airport is that there were so few options to eat. Like, unless I was just dying for a Snickers bar, I wasn't going to eat anyway. So I wasn't going to spend the extra money on it.
I remember one time having to eat at the old KCI terminal, and they had closed the Burger King for whatever reason.
Ooh.
So it's just like the one like sit down restaurant that they had on that side of the airport. And like I ordered a burger with fries, it was like $17.99, and it was mid, but they arranged the pickle and the tomato in a very phallic fashion, and that gave me a good chuckle. That was probably alone worth $17.99.
What's in there now? I'll be flying out here.
Oh, there's tons of stuff there now.
Yeah, a lot of options now.
Yeah. You never got to experience old KCI.
Yeah, I got an 8:35 a.m. flight. So.
Oh yeah, there will be plenty of options. There's plenty of stuff there. They have an Auntie Anne's now. I gotta hit it every time I go to an airport and I see one. I have to hit it. I gotta get a big old cup of pretzel nuggets.
My mom is flying into town for the weekend, and I gotta pick her up at the airport tomorrow. She's gonna ask, "Why did you park?" And I'm gonna have my mouth full of pretzel and say, "Mind your business."
God, I love a good soft pretzel. All right, I'm going to get too hungry if we keep talking about food. Wanted to get to this. I saw it yesterday from Eric Edholm, who is a draft writer for NFL.com. 9 teams that most need to ace their draft picks. And number 1 on the list is the Denver Broncos. Okay? He writes, the Broncos cut ties with Russell Wilson. They have to find a quarterback, but herein lies the rub. They don't have a lot of tradable assets. The rest of the roster is in tough shape, etc. Here's all the things they have to do. They have to catch up with the Kansas City Chiefs. I disagree with that in principle. I don't think anything the Broncos do in this draft, save for falling backwards into a quarterback who turns into a star immediately, they can't close the gap with the Chiefs. Nothing the Broncos do this year makes them any more of a division title contender than the roster they already have.
No, and I think they're punting on 2024 anyway.
They have to.
Sean Payton will never say it out loud, but there is no path to contention for the Denver Broncos that doesn't account for them absolutely finding, like, if Nix or Penix or whoever they draft ends up being a superstar from day one. Because that is the only way you're contending in a division that includes Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get that level of quarterback play. Are the Broncos going to get that level of quarterback play from whoever takes the snaps, whether that's Bo Nix or Michael Penix or Spencer Rattler or Jarrett Stidham or whoever? No, that's not happening. And especially not happening because not only do you not have that level of quarterback play, the rest of your roster stinks.
That sucks. It's so bad. Up and down. And I give Vance Joseph a lot of credit for what he was able to do to turn that defense around second half of the year. I know they played crappy quarterbacks a lot. That was a good defense. You have to play the teams that are in front of you. Their defense turned around with average talent outside of Patrick Surtain, who, for what it's worth, I think is a star. I think he's awesome. That's one I got right. One draft pick I got right and said, this dude's going to be that good. Very happy about that, but it's just not a good roster. They don't have a quarterback.
They don't have any leadership in the room.
No.
Justin Simmons was released. That was like the leader on that defense. They don't have like a lot of veteran presence. They don't have a lot of roster depth. This is a draft for them. They might consider like trading back 3 spots every single time they pick outside of the first round and
just take as many lottery tickets as you can.
Yes, if they end up with like 11, 12 draft picks, that will be a good draft for the Broncos. Just they need bodies. They need NFL players. That's job one, is go find some NFL players, then worry about your dudes.
The Chiefs are not included in this list of 9 teams. And I think that is correct. And you can tell me, guys, if this is an outlandish take. I don't think for 2024, obviously you draft for more than 1 year, right? You're drafting for 25 and 26 for your early picks, even 2027 at this point. I understand that. But for the 2024 season, is it completely out of the realm of reality that the Chiefs also aren't really changing their standing in the NFL with this draft? Like, of all the positions on the field, assuming there's no surprise trades or cuts between now and week 1, you need one starter, maybe? You could argue that you only need one starter.
Yeah, and I think, I hit on this yesterday too. Matt Verderame said it as much on Monday. He said they really only need 5 guys.
Yeah.
You can have a good draft with 5 guys.
I'm not even sure it's that many.
Well, and for the Chiefs specifically, a lot of it is just depth pieces.
Yeah.
Wide receiver, the Chiefs, as it stands today, veteran, draft pick, whatever, you need another starting wide receiver. I think everybody agrees with that. But in theory, like if the Chiefs got rid of all of their picks this year, in theory, the Chiefs could restructure a couple contracts and go sign Tyler Boyd today. And there's your receiver. And then you've got your 3. You've got your depth guys who are whatever, and Justin Watson, okay, fine. And you've got Rashee Rice, we assume, Hollywood Brown, and Tyler Boyd for this year. You've got enough defensive backs. Somebody from the group of Joshua Williams, Jalen Watson, and Najee Johnson, some combination of those guys will start with Trent McDuffie. You've got your cornerbacks. You've got enough guys at safety. You have a year's worth of linebackers, your whole defensive line back. The rest of your offense is set. I don't think this draft, unless, again, you hit a home run and A.D. Mitchell turns into a star as a rookie or whoever, you're pretty much set for this year. You can live with Wanye Morris at left tackle, probably.
I don't know, how much you're raising your ceiling in this draft if you're the Chiefs. And part of that is
good
just
way to put it.
Function of where you draft, right? Like you're not finding a lot of ceiling raisers at 132. That's the point of the draft, right? That's why the Super Bowl champion picks last. You're not going to find a player in all likelihood at that part of the draft that meaningfully raises your ceiling. Now, that doesn't mean you can't. And that's like why you have scouts, right? That's why you watch tape, so you can try and find somebody who's going to raise that ceiling. But we also saw the Chiefs use the last pick of the draft last year on a project player who hardly played as a rookie. And who's to say the Chiefs don't go that route again?
And then they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I agree with that sentiment. Like, you can find starters if you're the Chiefs, and I think that should be the goal, to get out of the draft and find a guy who can be one of your top 3 wide receivers as a rookie and who can potentially start at left tackle as a rookie. And then anything else from there can be a lottery ticket. Ask Dave Merritt who he likes best, and then draft that defensive back. Ask who Andy Heck likes best, and get a project up front, an offensive lineman on day 3. Ask Andy Reid, hey, which of these running backs look like they fit our offense, and then go get that guy in the 5th or the 6th round. So, yeah, I don't think this is a draft where the Chiefs are going to meaningfully raise their ceiling. If they do, good luck, everyone else.
Yeah, right.
But that's not the likeliest outcome.
No, I mean, it'd be kind of incredible if they did. I want to ask you one draft question. That the Bears are number 2 on this list. Chicago has the number 1 overall pick. They have the number 9 overall pick. Do you know how many other picks the Bears have in the entire draft?
2.
Yes, 2 others.
Because I looked.
Yeah, isn't that's wild?
They really
2
got a
picks
hit
in the top 9 and then 2 else the rest of the draft. I'm going to give you a scenario, okay? This is, again, team with the number 1 pick. They're going to take Caleb Williams first overall. They need an edge rusher badly. They have Montez Sweat, who's very good. And then, damn, you're lining up at defensive end next year for the Bears. Congratulations.
Can't wait to get pancaked into oblivion.
Yeah, like that's what they're running out there at defensive end. Most people think the Bears will take Rome Odunze at number 9. That Marvin Harrison will probably be gone early. Wouldn't be surprised if Malik Neighbors from LSU is gone. Rome Odunze in many draft classes would be the best wide receiver available. He's awesome. This year just happens to have Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. So if you're the Bears, are you taking Rome Odunze at 9 and you're saying we're just going to supercharge our offense, or would you trade back and take a defensive end and then take a wide receiver later?
I might just take Laitu Latu at 9.
Really? Okay.
I mean, you maybe move back and get him and add another, 2nd or 3rd day pick, but I'd position myself, try and get Latu if I could. There's your edge rusher.
I just looked up a Bears mock draft from Bears Wire of USA Today that came out yesterday. They have them selecting Austin Booker.
No, sorry, can't have him
at 75, and then they have him in the 4th round selecting offensive lineman Dominic Pooney.
No, you can't. No,
that's what this mock draft
I've
has.
been waiting for over a decade for the Packers to take a KU player. 2 draft eligible KU players cannot go to the Bears of all teams.
This guy must be a KU alum.
Maybe he's got to be. No. No, I will not allow it. I will walk to River Forest, Illinois, or Lake Forest, Illinois, to put a stop to this. I will not allow it.
Hey, at the bare minimum, you could get them. Yeah, I didn't do that on purpose, but it was pretty good. You could get some good food recommendations out to your guys. You could at least tell them where they go eat.
That's true. That's true.
You could at least help them in that way.
Dominic, about to learn Paul's Pizza and hot dogs in Westmont, Illinois, buddy. I think that was fascinating. I heard that on a podcast yesterday talking about that, and I thought maybe Rome Odunze is not the guarantee. Maybe that's not the must-have pick at number 9. They got a chance to have a really good draft, though, even with just a couple of picks. You end up with a top-tier quarterback and wide receiver who suddenly NFC North gets a little more interesting. Michael Wilhoite and Tim Fitzgerald will join us in the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. now it is the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis, all joining you. We've got a busy hour coming up. Tim Fitzgerald joins us later. What is wrong with you later this hour? But right now, we're getting right to the good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline, he is a 7-year NFL veteran, the current outside linebackers coach for the Denver Broncos, one of the all-time greats for Washburn football, and he is one of the men behind the Big Kev camp here in Topeka as well. Our good friend Michael Wilhoite joining us. Mike, how have you been, my man?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, man. Well, we will get to your role with the Denver Broncos, what this past year has been like. We'll talk some ball, all coming up here over the next few minutes. We really appreciate you taking some time for us. But I know we are also just over 2 months away from the return of the Big Kev Give Back Camp here in Topeka. You and Kyle Weems, the incredible job you guys have done to bring this event to Topeka over the last couple of years. Tell us a little bit about camp coming up this year. I know we're super excited for it to return to Topeka.
Yeah, it's June 21st, Big Kev Give Back Camp. Well, it'll be very similar to last year, just upgrading a few things. The location will be in the rec center at Washburn University. That's where everybody will meet. The football camp will be in the indoor facility right across the street. So it'll be really convenient just based on the location, based on everything being indoors. And everybody being able to get to where they need to very easy. Check-in will start at 7:30 a.m. That'll go till 8:30, and then camp will start at 9. We'll have a session from 9 to 11 and a session from 1 to 3 with a lunch in between. We're going to have a couple speakers come in during the lunchtime, talk about nutrition and some different things like that. So trying to continually make it better, continually think of new ideas, new ways to help the community, to involve more people. But we're both very excited about it. And hence why I'm on the phone with you right now talking about it, just because we want everybody to be a part of it every year. And it's a blessing for us to be able to do it. So we don't take it for granted at all.
No, it is such a cool thing, Mike, that you and Kyle have done to put this together, and all the people who come together to be coaches at the camp and who put this on every single year. It's so awesome for this Topeka community. And for you, being a Topeka guy, Highland Park, Washburn, and so many close ties to this community. I know we've asked you before, but just how much does it mean to you to be able to give back to Topeka, to kids in the area, and to this home community for you?
I don't want to compare it to anything that I have or, that I've done, but I'll just say it means just about as much as anything else meant to me. It means the same as me going to the Super Bowl, honestly. And I know some people would think about that funny, but you got to understand that this is something that I dreamed of doing as a young kid, just as much as I dreamed of playing in the Super Bowl. Like, in my mind, it was always about giving back and how can I help others, how can I help the community? And then, mom and dad, I tell them all the time, they did a great job. Second parents to my friends, kids on my athletic teams, and they always took kids in, always put them first and made sure they had food and made sure they had equipment and they would spend their money. And so it's just what I know. It's what I've been raised around. It's what I've been taught. And all the best coaches I ever had, they were all in service of me. They were all trying to do whatever it took to make me better. And so it's just who I am. And it's what I've always wanted to do. So it means everything to me.
We're chatting with Michael Wilhoite, 7-year NFL vet, currently the outside linebackers coach for the Denver Broncos, Topeka's own, Washburn's own, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Again, the Big Kev Give Back Camp coming to Topeka on June 21st this year. And Mike, to get to do this with Kyle as well, Kyle Weems, who also means so much to this Topeka community, how cool has that been for you two to get to work together on this?
It's been phenomenal. Honestly, again, it was Big Kev's dream. It's what he always spoke about to us. It's what we were sitting around in the living room watching TV shows, and Kyle's a senior in high school, junior in high school, and I'm first, second year in college. That's what he's talking about. He's talking to us about, man, y'all got to come back here and coach at the high schools. Y'all got to come back here and get these kids your knowledge. And so for him and I to have I was just thinking about yesterday, for us to just come up with the idea, like, let's put this in Big Kev's name. Let's do a football, basketball camp for the city. And then to spend the time to communicate about it and communicate with the necessary people to make it happen, to be on the phone with Coach Sherrick and, Josh Osborne, to be on the phone with all the coaches that are involved in it. It is work, and it takes courage to do it, I think. But it's all that more gratifying because we're willing to do those things and because we take the time to do it. So then when it all comes, to fruition and we're out there, it just, it means the world to both of us. And I know that we want to make it as good as as it can be and continue to grow it. We want it to be, we want it to become a whole day event for the whole city. And we're just at the beginning and we're just scratching the surface of what this could be. And, the more it can be for the city, it means everything to me and Kyle, and doing it with Kyle, somebody who I know feels the same way about the city. It's, we couldn't ask for anything better.
What has the response been to the camp, Mike, over the last couple of years, and all the kids you've been able to help and all the things you guys have been able to do? And so, again, so many people who come in and are a part of this with you and Kyle. What has the community response been to the Big Kev Give Back?
Overwhelming love, overwhelming joy. Everybody wants it again every year. Everybody is always, I get texts, I get emails, I get messages just about how much their kid enjoyed it. And, the kids seem to have a great time. Everybody, we haven't had, thank God we haven't had any incidents or injuries or major anything like that. And so it's been phenomenal. Everybody's enjoyed it. Everybody loves it. Last year we had 180 kids at the camp. Parents hang out during the day. I mean, we welcome parents, we welcome teachers, we welcome coaches from everywhere. We want everybody to come out and support and be a part of it. When the more people from the city that come out, the better the energy is. And last year we had more people out there, and it was just a higher level of energy. The kids love the pizza. Even the glory days, they bring free pizza. We get ice cream so we get sponsors, we get people out there to help. The coaches that we call on from the city, they come right away. Volunteers come right away. His family, Kyle's family, my family, they help with the registration. They help with the shirt. It's just everybody's involved, and nobody's there's no arguments, there's no issues. It's just love. It's just happiness. It's everybody enjoying the moment. And I think the response is only going to get bigger. I don't think it'll get any better because it's been great as it is. I think it'll get bigger. I think more people are going to become more involved with putting it on and getting together. And I think more people will be involved in, participating in the camp, meaning kids and parents and coaches around the city.
Well, it is an incredible thing, Mike, that you guys are doing. And if you want more information about the Big Kev Give Back Camp, head to bkgiveback.com. Again, June 21st this year on the Washburn campus, and sign-up information will be coming soon. Again, that's over at bkgiveback.com. We're joined by Michael Wilhoite, outside linebackers coach for the Denver Broncos, Washburn football alumnus, Topeka native, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. Mike, we have to ask you a little bit about the NFL this past season, this coming season, going into year 2 now with the Denver Broncos. What was this experience like this past year as the outside linebackers coach for Sean Payton out in Denver?
It was great. Obviously, we want to win more games. That's a must in this league. Individual experience in terms of learning, in terms of growing, it was phenomenal. I got a room full of really good guys, guys that want to learn, that want to grow, that want to be great pros, and they work hard at it. So I my room, and then as a young coach, just trying to learn the game and experience as much as I can. Where a better place to do that than with a head coach that has had the success of Sean Payton. And then we got a list of other coaches, our Vance Joseph, got a lot of other league, a lot of
We're chatting with Michael Wilhoite, the outside linebackers coach for the Denver Broncos. Have a little bit of a phone issue. We're going to get that taken care of, though. We're going to get Mike back on the phone here in just a moment. Mike joining us to talk about the Big Kev Give Back Camp, along with what this past year was like with the Denver Broncos. Again, for more information about the Big Kev Give Back Camp, go check out bkgiveback.com. It is just so cool, man. It is awesome what Mike and Kyle Weems have done with that camp and for this community. It's incredible.
And just so much respect. Scott Van Pelt famously says, everybody's from somewhere. No matter where you go, you take your hometown with you. All three of us understand that we've brought our hometowns with us in some way, and it's very cool to see what Michael Wilhoite has done, bringing his hometown with him, as I believe we have him back on the phone now. Michael, I have to ask, as a guy who grew up 10 minutes from the Dove Valley facility out there in Denver, how has Denver treated you and your family?
Oh, man, it's phenomenal. We love it here. There's just so many things to do, so many places to go. And I wouldn't say just Denver, but I would just say the state of Colorado. We're up in the hot springs. I'm taking the kids to the mountain, and we're snowboarding. Going to go mountain biking this weekend for the first time since I've been here. So I'm excited. I told one of my friends the other day, I said, man, you need to come out here. And I said, selfishly, because I want to see you, but also because you need to see it. This is something different than you see everywhere in terms of the hot springs, in terms of the mountains. And I want to share it with everybody. It's like, you got to see this. This is unbelievable. So we love it. We're having a great time.
At the risk of doing too much locals only content with the two of us, but I have to ask where you've been skiing, snowboarding at. What mountain towns have you had a chance to check out?
I've gone to Copper, and I've gone to Monarch Mountain. There's a nice mountain up by Monarch called Mount Princeton with hot springs. And so we just put those two together. We hit the hot springs, and then we hit the Burton all in one weekend or all in one week. And man, it's phenomenal. Like I can't say enough good things about it.
As a coach, you're always learning. You're learning from your head coach. You're learning from your defensive coordinator. You're learning from the people around you. It's a nonstop process. What would you say was something maybe over the course of this last season, your first in Denver, that you learned that was maybe not necessarily new information or new X's and O's, but just in terms of your learning experience as a coach? What ways did you grow as a coach in year one in Denver?
That's a great question. I think just my perception, my outlook is the thing that I'm learning more. And I guess that applies probably more to life than football, but it's the thing that helped me the most as a coach. Sometimes we can see things in a very short lens or very simple point of view, or even a selfish point of view, where the ego kind of controls the mind and kind of tells you how to react to certain situations. And I think consciousness is the best word I can use to explain it, is just being conscious in every moment and trying to be present in every moment and trying to hear everything I can to learn as much as I can. And then the perception being, instead of judging what somebody else is saying or deciding whether they're saying something is right or wrong, just listen and take it for what it is, and learn from it, whether I believe in it or not, or I think it's good or bad. And I think that's helped me a lot as a coach. I think my guys consistently humble me just in the sense of remembering how much work they put into it. And that's something I had to reconnect with is these guys put so much time in, they deserve and they need all your time as well. So I would say more than anything, just my perception and just the way I see things and just trying to be more open to everything instead of thinking my way or why are we doing this or what? No, accept what is and be willing to do my part to help the organization as well as my guys. And I would say that's the biggest thing I learned. You know, the X's and O's, like you said, that's something you always learn. That's something that's ever evolving. That's something that's ever changing in this game in the NFL. And always learning that. But honestly, the perception and my outlook on the things that are going on around me, I think is what propelled me to be a better coach this year. And what I'm learning right now will help me go forward.
Couple more questions for Michael Wilhoite, outside linebackers coach for the Denver Broncos, Washburn football alumnus, and one of the guys behind the Big Kev Give Back Camp here in Topeka coming up on June 21st. Joining us here on 580 Sports Talk on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. I wanted to ask you, Michael, because you mentioned him a little bit ago, Vance Joseph, who for a long time has been considered one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL and got a lot of praise this past year. Your whole defensive staff did for the way you guys turned things around in the second half of the year. What have you learned from him? And you've worked for a couple of well-regarded defensive coordinators now in your coaching career. What have you learned from Vance Joseph that you've kind of taken on and have used to improve yourself as a coach?
Probably what I just talked about. I think a lot of that comes from him, honestly, because he's so understanding of everybody's point of view. He's interested in everybody's input. He's calm. When other people aren't, he still is. He maintains the same composure all the time. He knows how to communicate throughout the building with all levels of people. And very patient, very organized, very clean. But I think most of all, what I learned from him is just being understanding of everybody's point of view and not only asking for the input, but then also applying the input that they give and making sure that whatever input they give is a part of the game plan and is heard by the guys. And I think that's it, man. I think just listening to him and hearing, you know, the maturity and the professionalism and the leadership skills that he comes with, that's what I'm learning from on a daily basis.
I've got to know, Mike, being a coach for the Denver Broncos, how often do you hear from family or from friends and folks back here in Northeast Kansas in this area who say, man, it had to be the Broncos? I'm sure you know a handful of Chiefs fans in your life who thought, man, anywhere but Denver, right?
No, you know what? One thing about my family and friends is they're very supportive. And shoot, I had probably, I don't know how many people shoot me a text after we beat them this year here in Denver and congratulate me, Chiefs fans. And some people that I wouldn't even expect to do it, but I think that everybody just supports me as an individual and wants me to be successful. And so it's like, man, they want the Chiefs to win and you know, they want me to be there, but at the same time, they understand that where I'm at and they support me no matter where that is.
Oh, well, that is too cool. And, Mike, we are so happy for you, man. Glad things are going well in Denver for you, for your whole family. And I don't know how many Chiefs fans who listen are, you know, rooting for the Broncos, but I know we're all rooting for you, man. Michael Wilhoite joining us here on the show, the 7-year NFL vet, outside backers coach for the Denver Broncos. And he and Kyle Weems, coming up on June 21st, are bringing back the BKGiveback.com Big Kev Give Back Camp for kids here in Topeka. It is going to be incredible on the Washburn campus. And Michael, kind enough to join us here on the show today. Mike, we always appreciate the time, man. Wishing you the best, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I can't say enough and say thank you enough to you guys for always giving me the time, always bringing me on, and always promoting the camp and shouting the camp out. It means more to me than I can say. And so thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. It means the world to me.
Absolutely, Michael. We'll talk to you soon, man. Take care. That is Michael Wilhoite, the outside linebackers coach for the Denver Broncos. And again, bkgiveback.com. That's where you got to go to get more information about the Big Kev Give Back Camp. Michael Wilhoite and Kyle Weems, they do such an incredible job putting that on for kids in our community to truly give back. It's awesome what they do, and really happy to hear from Mike. He is the best, man. He is absolutely great. We used to do, Spencer, you obviously weren't here at the time. We used to do a full hour with Mike every Monday.
That's cool.
During the NFL season, before Mike got back into coaching, it was Mondays with Mike. It was 3 to 4 every Monday during the NFL season. Mike joined us.
That's cool.
Yeah,
we just talk ball.
He is the best. He is awesome.
Yeah, he was thinking about maybe pursuing a career in media and made a much smarter choice and got into coaching.
Yeah.
Is they don't have to hang out with wahoos like us.
Much smarter choice. And I'm glad that he is enjoying Denver. I got to imagine he would be quite a sight coming down the mountain.
Terrifying.
Because he is still like, he was in the studio last year. He still looks like he can play.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, yes. He's in incredible shape.
So
his picture on the Broncos website, he looks like he's still an NFL player.
Yeah. He can go out there and play for them right now. I'm sure Sean has told him a time or two, like, hey, we got pads.
Hey, if we're ever in a bad spot.
Yeah, right? No, that is awesome.
They're a little short at that position right now. Maybe he's gonna have a role on the depth chart. Who knows? They got to address that spot in the draft for sure. He'll be watching the draft keenly. I bet they draft him another player or two for that OLB room.
I think there's a very good chance of that. No, but appreciate Mike coming on the show with us. He is the best, and again, always happy to talk about Big Kev Give Back, the camp that he and Kyle Weems put on. Again, bkgiveback.com for more information about the camp. We've got What Is Wrong With You coming up next, and then Tim Fitzgerald will join us here on 580 Sports Talk. Before we get to what is wrong with you today, we've got a keyword for you guys for the Alpha Media Choose Your Trip 2024 contest. You can enter it on our website, 580wibw.com. The link is right in the middle of the page. Your keyword for the 4 o'clock hour is fans. F-A-N-S. Fans.
That's
Like
the plural of fan.
Like I'm turning on 8-box fans when I sleep because it gets so hot. Fans. That is where you can. So go to our website, 580wibw.com. That is where you can enter the keyword fans. It is only active for the next half hour. At 5 o'clock, there will be one final word for the day, also active for just 1 hour. So go enter fans right now at 580wibw.com. All right, it is time for What is Wrong with You today. Our winner from yesterday, controversially, I might add. It is the woman who told police she was playing a game when she was actually just shoplifting over $1,000 worth of goods from a Walmart, putting them in her boyfriend's car. And then they said, well, that's not a game. That's just theft. They took the items back. They found illegal drugs. They also found silver, bronze, and platinum bars in her car. Why? Great question.
They just love stealing.
Love it. Where else do you get platinum? I just don't understand. All right, Dan, you're up first with today's stories.
I don't know that I need to read anything more than the headline here. Priest jailed after man collapsed from too many erectile drugs at cleric's sex party. That is the headline. It is from Poland, where a Polish priest has been sentenced to 18 months in jail for sex and drug crimes after a man collapsed during an orgy at his home. According to the Polish media, the victim had taken too many erectile dysfunction pills. An ambulance was called, but when paramedics arrived, they were refused entry and were only able to administer aid after police arrived. The priest, referred to as Tomasz Z, was sentenced for sexual offenses, supplying drugs, and failing to provide assistance to a person in danger of loss of life or serious bodily harm. He was also ordered to pay the victim 15,000 zlotys, or 3,000 euro, in damages, and several thousand zlotys to a fund set up to help crime victims. The trial took place behind closed doors, adding that there would not be an appeal. Anyway, so a priest threw a sex party and somebody got too much Viagra in their system and almost died. Yeah,
I don't even know that we need to hear Brennan's story about who wins the day and who's going on as our weekly winner.
I mean, maybe he just...
And the guy almost died, and then the host was like, no, you can't, you're not allowed to come in here.
I'm going to guess that lasted longer than 4 hours.
I bet it did.
I'm going to guess.
But he was not allowed to consult a physician, which is the problem.
Yeah, that is the problem. They tell you explicitly, call a doctor. Wow. I thought I had a good story. That's a lot. Mine is going to take us to West Valley City, Utah, where a man was arrested early Monday after he told police he released some frustration by firing over a dozen shots into his wall where his roommate was sleeping on the other side. Police were called to the West Valley home after other residents in the house heard gunshots. The first arriving officers were led to a 39-year-old man in his room in the basement. Quote, I entered the room and saw a handgun on the ground with multiple shell casings. I could also see multiple holes in the wall, according to the arresting officer. The man stated he was feeling bad about his financial situation and stated he misses his child. And he was even thinking about hurting himself, but decided not to shoot himself and instead fired 15 rounds into the wall where his roommate was sleeping on the other side. The roommate was not injured. The suspected gunman was arrested, though, for investigation of 15 counts of illegal discharge of a firearm and property damage.
Yeah, that roommate's a lucky guy. He has no idea probably how lucky he is.
Yeah.
Or he has some idea based on the holes in his wall and where they might be located.
Yeah, no kidding. I would advise anyone, if you are dealing with some frustration to the point where you feel like you're down and nothing is going right, I would probably not go reach for my gun right away. Probably not what I would do.
No, there are phone numbers to call. Call 988.
I would talk to a friend. I would rather go wake up that roommate and talk to them probably and just trauma dump on them. That's a case when trauma dumping is okay. Just tell him what's going on. I'm sure he would be understanding and not scared for his life. That's a pretty decent what is wrong with you story. It's not the boner pill bishop. I don't know if we can use that word, but I
don't know if we can.
I just know that that's so bad.
Why did the priest throw an orgy?
There's one question.
That's I really want to know. Like, what?
Yeah.
What? What?
I don't know, man. I have no answers for this. This wins today. This wins the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand. Like, you know,
they're human too.
You got to come prepared. I mean, you don't know how long the thing is going to last.
Well, I don't know if he was able to do that.
So many ways. And you don't have to get ready if you stay ready, right?
Apparently, you can be too ready though.
Apparently,
there is too much of a good thing sometimes.
Too ready.
Oh my. Yeah, the Cialis Cleric that gets the win today. That's our new winner for the week. Oh man. That's one that's going to stick with me for a while. Holy cow. Jeffrey on Twitter says God's prescription.
From the 785. Why did he throw an orgy? He wanted to have a bunch of sex. That's why.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I get. Why does anyone throw an orgy?
Holy cow! I need to take some deep breaths
for marketing. Yeah, like marketing purpose, not marketing. Networking.
Networking. Yeah, marketing. I think people would view the church a whole lot differently if it was marketing. Oh gosh! Coming up next, Tim Fitzgerald is going to join us. What a doozy! That's coming up on 580 Sports Talk. not a big fan of Sticky, but he is the publisher of GoPowerCat.com. His name is Tim Fitzgerald. You can find him on Twitter at Life of Fitz, and he joins us every Wednesday at this time for the Wildcat Wrap-up here on 580 Sports Talk. What's going on, Fitz? How you been?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very well. We have a whole lot to get to. We'll talk some football, some Cats football coming up here in just a few moments, but we've got some basketball news that is tangentially, sort of vaguely, conceptually connected to the Kansas State Wildcats to get to as well. Also, some transfer portal news. Let's start there. Let's start with the good. We didn't get to chat last week because of some scheduling conflicts. So let's talk about the newest member of the Kansas State Wildcats, Doug McDaniel. Doug, like the dog from Up. I know you're a big fan of that film, Fitz. What does Doug McDaniel bring to this K-State program?
Well, to stick with the theme, he's a dog. He gets after it. He's a creator, he's a scorer. He's kind of what K-State lacked this past season, and they went out and made sure that was the first thing they took care of, to have a experience. He's got 2 years under his belt. Point guard that can run things, get things set up, and help out his teammates. And with some nice passing, he's got some great highlights.
The fact that K-State will go into next year, and there will be more pieces to add through the portal, obviously, but the fact that K-State can go into this next year with a true, legitimate true point guard, I mean, that's going to change everything. We had CJ Moore of The Athletic on last week, and he said if K-State had Doug McDaniel this year, that's a tournament team. And I'm inclined to agree with him 100%. That is, to me, one thing, a guy who has twice as many assists to turnovers in his career. I mean, you add that to this past year's K-State roster, they're finishing top half of the Big 12 easily.
Yeah, they were asking guys to do things and handle the ball more than they have in their careers, and it just didn't work out very well. Tyler Perry was not a point guard. Did a great job attempting to do so. He stuck to it. I got to admit, I just thought he would, finally get frustrated and throw his arms up, but he just played through everything. He was a warrior, but he's not a point guard, and it really showed up. K-State's turnovers were outrageous. I contend the coaching staff did a really good job because based on the turnover numbers, they should have been about a 9-win team. I mean, those turnover numbers were just horrendous.
The biggest story in college basketball right now is John Calipari, who out of nowhere ends up getting an offer and leaves Kentucky for Arkansas, of all programs. Now the Kentucky job is wide open. Scott Drew is heavily rumored to be one of the favorites, because I'll tell you this much, I know Billy Donovan ain't taking it, and I can't imagine Danny Hurley does either. Scott Drew is one of the favorites. Obviously, there are going to be, if Baylor's job opens up, there are ties to Jerome Tang, obviously, among with others. Just generally speaking, 1,000-foot view, Fitz, what's sort of your take on everything that's transpired over the last 72 hours or so?
I just want to point out, I had my daily delivery today was about this. This was all caused 20 days ago, only 20 days ago, when SMU fired its coach.
And probably downgraded.
It could be. The dominoes started to fall, and here we are now with Kentucky open, one of the great blue blood jobs. And apparently this is the only other job Scott Drew has ever coveted, that he's wanted. And now he has an opportunity, depending on who you ask. And I think he does top their board right now. But I'm not convinced he'll take it at the end of the day. Baylor isn't just a job to him. He built this thing, literally, from the ground up. And I think it might be too hard for his family to go ahead and make that move and really drop themselves into a pot of boiling water with, Kentucky fandom. Let's remember what they did to John Higgins' business when he made a call they didn't like. They tried to destroy the man. These fans are at a whole nother level. And I'm not sure that's what Scott Drew wants to do, but if he does and Baylor comes open, I'm told by Baylor people that Jerome Tang's not even their first guy. They want Grant McCaslin probably top and maybe Bryce Drew, Scott's brother, after that. So I'm intrigued to see what happens. I will be really sad for Baylor, though, if Scott Drew moves on.
Our guest on the Flaming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline is Tim Fitzgerald, publisher of GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, joining us as he does every Wednesday at this time for the Wildcat Wrap-up here on 580 Sports Talk. Jerome Tang is still the Kansas State men's basketball head coach. It got a little touch and go there on Friday when there were reports that Arkansas had made an offer and that had Jerome Tang wanted the job in Fayetteville, it could have at that point been his. Those were all squashed by a tweet that Jerome Tang put out, and by the looks of it, may have actually made the video himself, certainly chose the music at the very least, and seemed to settle things around Manhattan. What is the end result going to look like of those conversations on Friday that made Jerome Tang comfortable remaining at Kansas State?
First, I think he needed to do this. I really do believe that. He needed to seriously look at another job and weigh it against what he has. And he always says he wants to pray on it. I think his heart said the work isn't done here and he wants to stay here. They absolutely love it here. I was really shocked he was in the running there. I didn't see that as a cultural fit, any kind of fit for Jerome Tang. And maybe it was just this. It was just him exploring and seeing how K-State would react. He got more money, in salaries for him and his staff. I think he got an NIL boost maybe. And also in the work leading up to this. And now, I think he wanted it kind of shored up and positively this is going to take place. There's a whole new system, apparently. Don't ask me the details. I'm not privy to that. Where if a kid can't be removed from an athletics roster just by a president deeming it worthy, there's now a process to go through to protect the players' rights. Because I think a lot of people feel like Naquan Tomlin had his, he might have a lawsuit because he was given no due process by Kansas State. He didn't get a meeting with the president. So now they've set up a new system to prevent that.
There's a lot of talk during the coaching carousel anymore, not just about salaries and salaries for assistants, but also NIL dollars, NIL mechanisms. And we have talked in the past, Fitz, about what K-State's NIL mechanism looks like. We've had the folks from Wildcat NIL on the show before. We talked to Curry Sexton, Ryan Hennington. We've talked to those people about what they envision it looking like. We're a couple of years into it now. How has that evolved in a way that is going to allow Kansas State to continue to be competitive in that space, or as competitive as they can be? Because certainly there are going to be some schools with an NIL mechanism that K-State can't touch. That's just the reality of things. It's like saying, realistically, the Royals are never going to spend like the New York Yankees. But how has the mechanism grown, and how are you seeing or hearing about it growing to help Kansas State remain competitive in that space?
That's an interesting question, because the side effect of the Jerome Tang interest in Arkansas was the NIL collective. Wildcat NIL grew tremendously. A lot of new members, kind of a groundswell to join it. And they're trying to push to unlock $1 million gift that comes with 1,000 members in the collective. And you know what? That's incredible. But K-State's always going to struggle a little bit trying to keep up with the NIL, not because they don't have the big donors, but because there just isn't as large alumni base as a lot of institutions have. You have a smaller pool of people, and it may be harder to collect enough money. I don't think the NIL has been anything like what we expected it to be. I think it's a total mess. It's unregulated and kind of wild right now, but it's evolving so quickly. We've seen K-State bring the NIL collective into their realm. I mean, it's not really part of the athletics department, but it's their official NIL, and they work with it closely. And, trying to keep that money pumping into football and basketball, let alone, other sports where K-State can have great impact with NIL money, like volleyball, women's basketball, baseball. It's going to be difficult for K-State, but they're determined to make it happen. And the problem will be is the NIL budgets will just escalate, get bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where they're not sustainable. And I think we're headed that way pretty quickly.
We're joined by Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. And Tim, you mentioned when you were on our show a couple of weeks ago about the potential explosion of the transfer portal with football guys. Have you heard anything about any guys at K-State getting ready to enter the portal? I know that I think opens up next week.
Yeah, it opens up Tuesday. I think I originally said the 15th or the 16th that it opens up. And college coaches are expecting a lot of chaos, but Chris Kleiman isn't. And maybe it's going on and he's not, know about it, but I think he's got a pretty good handle on his situation. I'm not saying they'll be immune to NIL movement, transfer portal movement, but I don't think it'll be massive at K-State. One of the things benefiting K-State with this is the fact that they've got a young roster and they don't have as many proven players that people might roar in and offer an NIL deal. The biggest thing that's happened right now is the courts have shot down almost all protections for universities. So what was once an NCAA violation to go tamper with someone else's player is now the Wild West. Go get them. And collectives and college agents, which is a new thing, have been contacting players across the nation about moving to other schools while they're currently on a roster of a school. And that's just ugly. I don't like that at all, but this is what the courts have deemed is appropriate. And I'm going to sit around on April 16th and watch the explosion because I think it'll be a massive number of players going into the portal. And I've noticed they now have a non-contact designation in the portal, which I never knew they had. Like Robbie Avila just did it leaving Indiana State basketball. He said, don't contact me. He's going to St. Louis to be with his coach. So if people have NIL offers already wrapped up, they're going to go in no contact. Don't call me. I'm going to this school already. It's nuts what's going on. It's unsustainable. You cannot keep this up through the years. The system will collapse.
That system to me, or that, the option, the do not contact thing fits. Those are so funny because, you look at Robbie Avila, that one at least makes sense. Like he's going to go follow his coach. Wherever his coach, Josh Schertz, was going to go, he was probably going to follow. He's close with the coach. That at least makes some sense. But it's funny to me when guys go from, one major program to another with no prior connection, but do not contact. I already know where I'm going. Like, okay. Like there's something funky about that, right? Like it might not be the worst thing in the world, but it just seems kind of off.
The funniest thing to me going on is, when you're a high school junior, senior, and you start taking your recruiting visits, you diligently visit at least 5 campuses and you talk to a bunch of people and you see game day and you do all this stuff. And then 1 year later, after choosing that school, you decide to go into the transfer portal and you make a decision off one Zoom call. It's just, a coach calls up, okay, I'm coming. And that's it. And I think a lot of kids are making decisions irrationally to get into the portal and then finding out that maybe that offer you thought you were going to get wasn't actually taking place. And you're kind of stuck without a school. And a lot of kids go into the portal. It sounds, kind of like doom here, but never to be seen again in college athletics. They had a scholarship, now they don't. And that's a side of the portal that people aren't really paying attention to.
Wrapping things up with Tim Fitzgerald, the publisher of GoPowerCat.com, which is part of the 24/7 Sports Network. He joins us every Wednesday at this time for the Wildcat Wrap-up on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. 2 more quick ones for you, Fitz. Number 1, Matt Wells, new offensive coordinator for K-State. He spoke today. Anything specifically intriguing you heard from the new Cats OC?
I'm just intrigued to know what they're actually going to do on offense. I think there's going to be a lot of new wrinkles. I've heard they've added a lot of his stuff, including the pass game. You can tell he's enamored with Avery Johnson, even coming in. We asked him what he encountered and found out about Avery they didn't expect. And he said his passing consistency is amazing. That his release point is replicated play after play after play. And I've noticed that in the brief time that we've been able to go to practices, this guy throws a series of passes that all look identical. I mean, if you ran a replay, you wouldn't know they were different passes, except there's a different guy catching the ball. It's really kind of amazing to watch because everyone thinks he's a runner first, and he really is gifted as a thrower.
No, you don't make it to Elite 11 and finish middle of the group at Elite 11 if you can't spin the ball a little bit. Final thing for you, Fitz. We are now 15 days away from the start of the NFL draft. If I told you, and I'm sure you haven't eaten the tape on everyone who's eligible this year, but if I told you Cooper Beebe of K-State is a top 40 player in the class, would you say fair or foul?
Fair. Finding an offensive lineman that might be a producer for you for 10 plus years is one of the biggest things you can do in the draft. Not flashy. The fans don't get overexcited, but I think Cooper will go in the second round fairly early, if not late first.
Yeah, that's where The Athletic has him in their top 100, number 38. We saw him in a mock draft of Baltimore, who needs 2 starting guards. He could be in Baltimore for his entire career, starting and being a great player. Don't worry about his short arms, NFL. He's a hell of a football player. Tim Fitzgerald is the publisher of GoPowerCat.com. Go check it out. Go be a VIP at 24/7 Sports. You will not regret it. We're all members of it. It is absolutely worth the cost. You can find Fitz on Twitter as well, at Life of Fitz. Joins us every Wednesday for the Wildcat Wrap-up. We appreciate the time as always, Fitz. We'll talk to you soon.
Good to talk to you, boys.
That is Tim Fitzgerald from GoPowerCat.com. Awesome insight on all things K-State sports. Coming up in the final hour of 580 Sports Talk, we will get you ready for Game 2 between the Royals and the Astros coming up tonight. We've got to get to your texts from the Top City Metal Supply text line and your comments on the YouTube stream. Plus, we've got plenty of 580 Sports Talk headlines to get to you today. All that is coming up following the national and local news back here on 580 Sports Talk. 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday afternoon. Brendan Dorzinski, Dan Lucero, and Spencer Dupuy all joining you today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us during these afternoon hours. A big thanks to Tim Fitzgerald for joining us for the Wildcat Wrap-up, and another big thanks as well to Michael Wilhoite, the Washburn football great, former San Francisco 49er and Seattle Seahawk, and current outside linebackers coach for the Denver Broncos, both for joining us. If you missed either of those interviews or any other part of the show today, you can head to our website, 580wibw.com, go to the podcasts tab and click on 580 Sports Talk. That's where you'll find the show broken down hour by hour. You can also go check out the YouTube. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube is where you can find us, and that is also where you can go and can rewind the show and check out anything from the show you may have missed. Save for the first 20 minutes when we weren't on YouTube today. You can find that on Facebook, though. I don't know what was jacked up with the YouTube, but it's all fixed, and the rest of the show is on there from today. Speaking of 580wibw.com, are you guys ready for our final for today? Alpha Media, choose your trip keyword of the day. You can go to 580W.
I'm ready.
Yeah, thank you. Finally. God, some excitement, please, people. Damn. 580wibw.com. Right in the center of the homepage, you'll see the link to choose your trip 2024. Enter this keyword between now and 6 o'clock on the dot. 6:00:01. You're too late. Got to be before 6. Your keyword for the 5 o'clock hour. I love this one. This one is near and dear to my heart. Chicago. 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 Or if you are from the area, Chicago. I don't say it like that, though, because I'm from the suburbs. Enter that as your keyword for the 5 o'clock hour at 580wibw.com for your chance to win a trip to anywhere you want, paid for by Alpha Media. We'll get to a Royals Astros preview. We'll talk a little bit more from around the world of sports, including our 580 Sports Talk headlines. That is where we begin today. And we've got some breaking news, some updated news at the very least, from down in Dallas, Texas, where an arrest warrant has been issued for Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice in a multi-vehicle Dallas crash. We already knew about the crash. This is coming from the writing of WFAA TV in Dallas. An arrest warrant has been issued for Rice in his connection with the crash that occurred on US 75 in Dallas at the end of last month. Rice is now facing 8 charges in the case. 6 counts of collision involving bodily injury, 1 count of collision involving serious bodily injury, and 1 count of aggravated assault. State Senator Royce West, who is the attorney for Rashee Rice, confirmed last week his client acknowledged to investigators he was driving the Lamborghini that was involved in the crash. A Corvette also involved is also leased in Rice's name. The driver of the Corvette, 21-year-old Theodore Knox, faces the same charges as Rice. A Teddy Knox is also listed on the current roster of the SMU football team where Rice played. It has not yet been 100% confirmed if they are indeed the same person. No passengers in either of the vehicles will be charged. It is not clear yet when Rice will be taken into custody. The Dallas Police Department typically allows suspects a chance to turn themselves in before officers go to arrest them. That is according, again, to the reporting of WFAA TV. Sources indicate Rice will be given 24 hours to turn himself in.
So 2 things here. Number one, I think it is at least a little noteworthy that there are no charges for leaving the scene of an accident, which could also be something that does not look great on a rap sheet and could add to your potential discipline, whatever it might be. But I think it is noteworthy that there are no charges, at least up front, for fleeing the scene of an accident. That there are just these 8 charges, which I think the preferred number be 0 charges against me for doing anything. 8, not great. Better than 9. Worse than 7. A lot worse than 0.
Yes.
And the other thing is that I feel like perhaps relates to number one is this feels like a little bit negotiated, probably, that it took this long to file the charges, that we've already heard from the lawyer, that we already heard a statement from Rashee Rice, that these charges feel negotiated and that there's probably some more negotiating to come at the end of this. Again, the largest takeaway is thank God everybody's okay. Like, relatively speaking, that there was nobody who was killed, because very easily this could have gone someplace that was very dark and very tragic.
Yes.
And fortunately, that has not been the case. And now we'll just wait and, I suppose, let the legal system play out. But I think the fact that there are 8 charges in the case suggests that, number one, this might be the least of his problems right now, but number two, the NFL is going to absolutely suspend Rashee Rice. Like if you were thinking, hey, maybe he'll avoid suspension, do not think that anymore. That's going to happen.
Yes.
It appears that Theodore Knox is the Teddy Knox, according to multiple reports.
I figured probably, but look, you don't need to hear this from me to know it's true. I don't think you could do. There are very few things you could do that are dumber than this in general, because you could kill yourself or a bystander or your friend or whatever. This is already wildly dangerous. You are in line in your career to make so much money you won't know what to do with it if you're Rashee Rice. You are beloved already in your new city because you're a good football player and you just won a Super Bowl. You are wide receiver 1 for the best team in the NFL. You catch passes from Patrick Mahomes. You have the easy life, man. And you do this. There's no need for this. Absolutely no need. Then throw in the fact as well that you could have killed someone. Someone could have died. Oh, let's also not forget, you remember another former highly touted, highly drafted wide receiver who within the last 2 years killed someone doing this? Or maybe not racing, but driving 100 whatever miles an hour it was.
Recklessly driving, yes.
And killing someone? I don't know how you can be this. I know how you can be this foolish, because you're young and you think you're untouchable because of all those things.
And you have all the money in the world.
You've got to be smarter than this. If you're Rashee Rice, if you are anyone, you have got to be smarter than this. And his suspension is going to be entirely deserved, and I really don't feel a lick of sympathy for it. I hope I'm going to assume, this is total editorial on my part, I'm going to assume he has learned his lesson, because he has been, as we have all heard, cooperating with the investigation. He has been cooperating with authorities. I do not think he is time because of this, because of money and resource and all of that. I'm sure it'll be pled down. He'll pay a fine, probably get probation, get a big suspension. Comprehensively stupid.
Yeah. That's all you can hope, right? Is that he will
learn from it.
He will learn from his mistake. And this is one way to learn, when they slap the cuffs on you, when you turn yourself in and you're facing 8 charges. And I don't know, I don't know penal code in Texas. I don't know if these are felonies or just misdemeanors. And I don't know what the process will be like here moving forward. But I do think that this portends about as what we've seen the NFL do in most of these cases, like the most severe suspension they hand out, other than in severe cases, 6 games. And I would expect at this point, Rashee Rice will miss 6 games of the 2024 season.
Yes.
At the bare minimum, he's going to miss 6 games.
I am looking it up right now. I do believe, okay, yes. So a collision involving serious bodily injury, as defined by section 1.07 penal code, to a person is a felony of the 3rd degree in the state of Texas.
Okay.
That's according to the Texas government website. That
I'm sure aggravated assault's a felony, depending on what degree you're talking about here.
Yeah. It is not the highest degree of felony. Death involving in a collision is a 2nd degree. This is 3rd degree. I don't. That's about as much lawyering as I can give you. But yeah, I mean, this is bad. This is inarguably bad.
And his lawyer, Royce West, when he had his press conference the other day, talked about, he made mention to Rashee Rice wanting to make things right, wanting to make the victims in this accident whole. And I think there might be a little bit of naivete in thinking, oh, I just write a check and this goes away. Not really how it works. But I do think that was a sign of contrition and remorse, and I hope that it is. I hope that's what Rashee Rice is experiencing. It is what he should be experiencing. And not only did he almost cause even greater injury, even greater tragedy, he hurt his team.
Yeah.
He hurt his teammates because he's not going to be available for them for an indeterminate amount of time in 2024. And all of that stacking up, that would certainly, I would hope, make sure he doesn't do something this stupid again.
One football note, and because I agree, I mean, the wide receiver seems like the very obvious move for the Chiefs right now. You know what else I would do? Chiefs still have $20 million in effective cap space. I'm signing Tyler Boyd. I'm getting that done by the end of the week. Yeah, go get a vet. I know a young receiver. I mean, shoot, it might be 2. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 2. Obviously, you need that. You're not going to have Rice for 4 to 6 games. I would assume the higher end of that. Go get Tyler Boyd. Figure it out. That's what I would do if I was the Chiefs. But yep, that's the update on Rashee Rice. And not a good situation that goes without saying.
First headline for me, Major League Baseball's number 1 prospect makes his big league debut tonight as Baltimore Orioles have called up infielder Jackson Holliday. The 20-year-old will be in the starting lineup for Baltimore tonight as they take on, are they in Boston? Yes, they're in Boston, taking on the Red Sox tonight at Fenway Park. So Jackson Holliday will make his big league debut, batting 9th and playing second base. He is the consensus number 1 prospect in baseball. Anybody who evaluates prospects pretty much has him at the top of the list. He was the number 1 overall draft pick out of high school just 2 years ago. He is the son of former major leaguer Matt Holliday. Story time with Dan here. I know you know this story, Brendan, and some of you listeners may have heard me tell it before. Certainly heard me tell it around draft time 2 years ago. But Spencer, I do not believe you know this story. Okay. Back in 2007, 21-year-old Dan was an intern at 850 KOA radio in Denver. That is the 50,000-watt blowtorch of the West and the flagship station of the Colorado Rockies. And one of the things I got to do as an intern was cover Rockies games as I was interning in April and into May and June. Of course, that ended up being a pretty cool season for the Rockies. It's the only pennant-winning season in franchise history. Anyhow, one day or night, I suppose, it came to be that I was in a scrum in the locker room, and I felt something hit my shoulder blade, the back of my shoulder blade. And I turned around, and it was the familiar sight of Matt Holliday, the Rockies' star left fielder at the time, pitching batting practice to his 3-year-old son in the corner of the Rockies clubhouse. Holliday had a corner locker. All the stars did. Todd Helton had a corner locker as well. And that is where Matt Holliday would take his baseball rat of a toddler and throw him batting practice. And already a picturesque left-handed swing, the ability to mimic big leaguers. He could do Ichiro. He could do David Ortiz, all the at-bat, pre-pitch movements and gestures that those hitters were known to do. And I got plugged in the back by a Nerf ball, essentially a squishy baseball. And one of the reporters that was in the scrum, one of the reporters who covered the Rockies professionally, turned to me and said, "Well, you've made it now. Jackson just nailed you." And apparently that was the thing that Matt Holliday would do. He'd pick out a reporter and say, "Hey, see if you can hit him." And that was how Jackson Holliday honed his hitting skills in the Rockies clubhouse as a 3-year-old. And now he's a big leaguer, and I feel ancient.
It's crazy how people around, I mean, you've had that story, and yes, I have heard that, but you're not the only one who's got stories like that. Obviously, anyone who was on that beat did. Buster Olney of ESPN tweeted in 2013, when Jackson Holliday was a 9-year-old, said he is going to be an all-star, which, for what it's worth, is an insane thing to say out loud or to even think about a 9-year-old child.
Yes.
And he might not be an all-star, but the fact that that kid made the show is a big deal and crazy. And I would not be surprised. I mean, he's got all the tools to be an all-star someday.
Yeah, he could be a generational talent. Pretty left-handed swing, a lot of power, can play all over the infield. His younger brother might be the number 1 pick this summer.
They're Ethan, right?
Yes,
Ethan Holliday.
Yeah.
There is something about a baseball player getting called up that you don't get with rookies in the NFL or in the NBA, because rookies, they just play right away. If you're really good, if Caleb Williams is going to play week 1, there's build up because, oh my God, we got our guy, but then you have to wait and, he's just going to play right away. Baseball, it's almost mythical. It's not super easy to watch minor league games. You think,
I think it is when it's Jackson Holliday, though.
Well, I mean, sure, but
the team he was on is absolutely killing Major League Baseball right now.
Minor League Baseball.
Or minor league baseball, that's what I meant.
Yes, okay. Joe Blow, Orioles fan, is probably not going out of his way to go to MILB.com to watch a game. Though.
Yeah,
it's mythical.
It's for the sickos.
Yeah. I remember when I know he's not doing well for the Rockies now. I remember when Chris Bryant was a prospect. And it was like,
his
hey,
debut was a huge deal.
if you have not seen him because you haven't been watching the Cubs or the Tennessee Smokies, you're in for a treat. And for those first 3 or 4 years, that was the truth.
It's rare. Like everybody, even the sickos, you get excited about. Like I know there were like our guy Fulton was real fired up for Anthony Veneziano's big league debut last year.
Yeah,
like a big league debut for a ballyhooed prospect is always exciting.
Yeah.
And then there are the ones who are beyond ballyhooed and are like, here is the future of the franchise. Spencer, I know you remember Steven Strasburg's debut fondly. I set aside time to watch that game.
I watched
So
for me, in this aspect, it's more of Bryce Harper's.
I remember Harper's
coming up and everything happening, and people I know going to see his games at the Hagerstown Suns games, Harrisburg Senators, like things like that. This is like I've talked to one of my buddies that's an Orioles fan, and I was like, this is reminiscent of me in high school, us in high school, and Bryce Harper coming up and built in the team the way that it already was, and adding the best prospect in baseball to it.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the Orioles are doing right now. A team that won 101 games last year, and they're adding a player like exciting for baseball. If you get a chance, check it out. Spencer, your first headline.
Yes, my first headline comes from I guess we'll talk about it. Might as well hit it. The second headline here. John Calipari officially is now hired as the head coach for Arkansas. He also said earlier that he waited to do this until after the national championship game. But his contract details, I don't know where that is now. I had it earlier.
Yes. So I have the info here. If you give me 1 second, I will pull it up.
Yeah.
I had he's getting paid a bunch. It is not a discount that he took to end up at Arkansas. So let me go pull it up here. So John Calipari, salary is $7 million a year, a $1 million signing bonus, and he gets a $500,000 for yearly retention. He'll get an increase in terms of the amount he gets in bonuses each round of the NCAA tournament. If you make the NCAA tournament, you get a $50,000 increase in your salary every year. A $350,000 increase if you make it 3 years in a row. His buyout is $6 million, and if he gets fired, it's 75% of his remaining contract as well. Here's the other benefits, the other perks that John Calipari is getting.
I love these things in contracts.
He gets 10 tickets to each home basketball game to give to family and friends, 5 tickets to each game for every Arkansas sport, 2 cars, loaners, and then club memberships at the Blessings and the Fayetteville Athletic Club. I don't know what the Blessings is.
So he doesn't get a chartered plane flights? That's a big thing in college coaches' contracts. Like sure personal, like like Kim Caldwell at Tennessee, that was in hers, that she gets like 2 flights a year or 2 trips.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah,
I would imagine that's probably baked in. You want a conspiracy here? So the Blessings, I'm assuming this is a club in Fayetteville. If you just Google the Blessings, you get a song by worship music group Elevation Worship. That was the self-proclaimed favorite musical artist when Matt Norlander did his NCAA tournament preview piece, favorite music of every tournament coach. That was the favorite musical artist of current Baylor Bears head coach Scott Drew.
Huh.
Just connecting the dots here, folks. Connecting the dots.
Blessings, by the way, is a golf course Robert Trent Jones Jr. designed. John H. Tyson funded it as Tyson Chicken.
Yeah. There's the real circle.
Did you want to share, Spencer, that quote about NIL at Arkansas? John Calipari had some pointed thoughts about the NIL.
Yeah, let me pull it up here.
Because I know that, you think, okay, Kentucky's got NIL money. There's Kentucky basketball. But I know I had heard rumors even last year that he really had to fight with Mitch Barnhart to get the full capacity of Kentucky's NIL actually into use.
Yeah. So this comes from Tristan Faris. I believe he is the founder of KY Kentucky Insider, editor of A Sea of Blue. So a
SB Nation site. Yeah.
Yeah. Assumably.
Pretty tied in. Yeah.
Very tied in. He says, John Calipari says at Arkansas, NIL will be ready for him. He doesn't have to, quote, go out and do it anymore, end quote. Quote, the other thing to change is figuring out our roster, and you have to go in now and have NIL ready, which the school will do. I don't have to go out and do it anymore. I had to at Kentucky. So low blow jab there to Kentucky.
Yeah, not a surprise you would take a shot there. More than anything, it's probably a shot at Mitch Barnhart. I mean, by all accounts, that relationship is cooked.
Yeah.
There was a good piece in The Athletic today about that, in fact, about how Cal wished he had taken the UCLA job in 2019, which that would have been a fun little wrinkle in the college basketball landscape.
Yeah, would have.
Imagine getting Cal instead of Mick Cronin.
Yeah, no kidding.
That would have been funny. By the way, my next headline for you will just be an update about the Kentucky coaching search. So this is from Matt Jones, who runs Kentucky Sports Radio, and I got to pull this up here real quickly. But he had an update. He said he does not believe that a decision is going to be made finally tonight. So he says this in a pair of back-to-back tweets. Things can always change. I do not expect any type of announcement or major movement on the UK head coaching search tonight. There still hasn't been an official offer. There are still 3 major candidates. Kentucky has been in contact with 2 of the 3 today, but that's it. It's always possible that one of the 3 major candidates pulls himself out of the process tonight, but otherwise I think it's tomorrow before there is significant movement either way. It feels rushed in the social media world online, but I don't think the UK timeline is different. I mean, right?
Yeah.
Danny Hurley went on with Colin Cowherd today and did everything he could to deny his interest without straight up saying, no, I'm not going to take it. He's not going to. But he said, when asked about the rumors, it's flattering, but I've got a long career of turning down jobs or more money to stay in places that I was happy. Right now at UConn, the opportunity to go for a three-peat is the only thing on anyone's mind. Okay, so is that a no?
Right.
Like, he's saying everything that makes it sound like a no without just saying no, which, as we've talked about before with Jerome Tang, like we've talked about with Lance Leipold, your agent is telling you do not say no. Do not say it. You want to have as much leverage for the business side of this as possible. So as long as you don't say no, you're in a position of strength to negotiate for a bonus or NIL pool money or whatever. So I get that. But by the same token, like, why not just say no?
Yeah.
Why not just, you're getting a raise anyway. It's not like UConn's going to say, you know what? You don't deserve more money. They're going to give him a raise this year. So that's interesting. That's why I assume it's Drew and Hurley who they've been in contact with.
That's what I would imagine. Last headline for me, the Masters gets underway tomorrow. If you want to follow the professional sports franchise of Topeka, Kansas, Gary Woodland, you have to get up a little early, 7:48 Central. He's one of the first groups off tomorrow at Augusta National. He'll tee it up with Thorbjorn Olsen and former U.S. Open champion Bryson DeChambeau. That's weather permitting, though. It looks a little gnarly in the forecast for the first couple of days of the Masters, so there might be some early delays tomorrow. But G-Dub, in case you missed it, went viral earlier today, made an ace at the 6th hole at the par 3 contest that the Masters always holds the day before the tournament begins. Pretty cool moment. Got to celebrate with his wife and kids who were on hand with him. It was his first career ace at the par 3 contest, and maybe bodes well for Woodland, who finished in a tie for 14th at the Masters last year.
All right, real quick, both of you, give me 2 golfers. 2. Give me 2. Your pool. Our pool for the Masters. Give me your 2.
Scotty Scheffler's going to win, and my dark horse is Sahith Theegala.
I don't know how to spell that. I'm going to do it phonetically in our note here.
I was going to go with Scheffler.
Well, we're competing here. You got to give some. Dan went first. You got to pick me someone else. You got 2 picks here.
Tiger Woods.
Okay, we got Tiger
as the dark horse.
Okay, he's your dark horse.
John Rahm repeats.
John Rahm. That's a good pick. My normal pick is Victor Hovland, and my dark horse is G-Dub.
Okay, I like it.
Those are your 580 Sports Talk headlines for today. Coming back on the other side of this timeout, we've got more 580 Sports Talk, more of your texts to the Top City Metal Supply text line, and your YouTube comments as well. We'll preview Astros Royals later on. We're back after this with more 580 Sports Talk. Brandon and Spencer here with you the rest of the way on 580 Sports Talk. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Got a couple of comments here on the YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is where you can find us on YouTube. That is our handle. These are from our pal Jayhawker. One says that Rashee Rice is going to be sued for pretty much everything he's going to make in the next 5 years. Those fines and those civil cases and all that is going to be a whole lot of money going for the people affected in that crash.
Especially that couple that's already come out and spoke.
Oh, yeah.
So I would imagine they're going to be ones on the front end of this.
I would imagine so. I would imagine so. I'm going to get second income here, Rashee. Another one from our guy Jay Hawker says, Dan Hurley is a hothead who won't be able to handle the stratospheric expectations of that fan base, Kentucky, without blowing his stack. No, UConn is the perfect fit for Hurley. He's weird. He is extreme. I mean, he's obviously good enough to recruit good players and to win national championships, but I think he is very comfortable at UConn. It's kind of an insulated place. I think that is a perfect fit. No one at UConn is going to push him out the door anytime soon. I think it's going to be Drew. I really do. It's not Hurley. Already been over. It's certainly not going to be Billy Donovan. I think it would be very funny if it was Rick Pitino. That program is, again, right back in the national title picture immediately. They probably are with Drew, too. I mean, Pitino's a hell of a coach, even though he's older. He knows Kentucky, even though it was a long time ago. He's not attached to St. John's by any means. I think he would be a great hire, at least for a few years, for Kentucky if Mitch Barnhart wants to go in that direction. I do think it'll be Drew. I think he's the most likely one of this group. That's a tough place to go. You know, you mentioned it the other day, Spencer. I think we were talking about it yesterday on the show, if I'm not mistaken, that it's hard to be we were talking about it when we were mentioning the head coach from the women's program at your alma mater, Kim Caldwell, right?
Kim Caldwell.
Well, she left Marshall to go to Tennessee, where they've been chasing the real replacement for Pat Summitt for years, and mentioned that it's hard to be the one who replaces the one, the guy after the guy, right? Like Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. Do not envy him. I mean, He's got all the money and all the resources, but man, I would not want to replace him.
That was the big thing after Saban retired. They're like, does anybody really want to be the guy after him? Mm-hmm. Or do you want to be the guy after the guy after the guy?
If DeBoer flames out, it's going to be Lane Kiffin.
Yeah. What about Steve? Stark.
It could be Sark. It could be Sark. I could see it. I'm going to attach my wagon to Kiffin, but I could see Sark. That's fair. Texas is so much money, though. One of the few places that could outbid Alabama football. But I think it's probably a similar thing. You would think it'd be a similar thing at Kentucky, a couple of Final Fours, but it's been a while. A national championship, but it's been a while. But Kentucky is just so different. The picture Scott Drew posted on Twitter today of him and Eric Shiro from Alliance Bank in Central Texas, him in a booster.
I love how he has to say who he is and what he does.
Yeah, doing a favor for him.
He could just be like, here's my buddy.
Should have just put a disclaimer, not from Lexington, Kentucky, not a Kentucky fan. All he needed was that. But, the picture he posted from this Mexican restaurant, did you see, and again, Matt Jones from KSR, Kentucky fans have been all over Yelp and Google reviews for this Mexican restaurant all afternoon, leaving 5-star reviews.
Apparently they called it. They called the restaurant too, according to Matt Jones. He said, I'm told via a text screenshot that someone saw the picture of Scott Drew eating at the Mexican restaurant in Waco. They figured out which one it was, called it, and had the waitress go over and say, we need you in Lexington.
I mean, that's
crazy.
That is unbelievable. Chip Gaines from Fixer Upper, he was getting in the mix on Twitter today. He had multiple people he was responding to. One person who used a curse word, and he responded with, do you kiss your mother with that mouth? You should go ask her about me. She knows me, or something to that effect. Which, I mean, yeah, probably. He was going back after someone else who said he was going to Kentucky, and he said, Kentucky's got money, but we've got God on our side. I mean, clearly trolling these Kentucky fans. It's very funny. That is a really, really hard job to go after, though.
I just saw a funny quote tweet from this guy, Adam Griggs. He's just a guy.
Mm-hmm.
He said, for those saying he would be a safe hire, this guy is eating chips and salsa while wearing a white shirt. Scott Drew is a bona fide renegade.
That's really funny. I did see, though, it was very clear that and I saw some Baylor fans. I was perusing their 24/7 message board earlier who said, well, this picture means he's not going. There's no way. He can't be going now. He's wearing Baylor stuff. And I did think when I saw the picture, he's making it very clear he's talking to a booster. He's at a local restaurant. He is very clearly
trying to get the heat off of him for a bit.
Yeah, he's very clearly showing, hey, I'm wearing Baylor merch. I don't think that was a full denial, though. I think that was just a don't believe everything that you're reading kind of comment there from Drew. Regarding football, we've got a comment here from Neilio on Twitter who says, I don't think you leave Austin for Tuscaloosa. That would also mean that UT's killing it if they went after Sark. That is actually a really good point, that if Sark is still a big enough deal in however many years, if Kalen DeBoer doesn't work out at Alabama, that they would want to go hire Steve Sarkisian, probably means Texas has been winning a lot. And if Texas is winning a lot, I mean, they're right back up there in the pantheon of, best teams in college football, best programs in college football, as much as I hate to admit that. I was wondering where you land on the McCaslin-Drew thing to get back to the local tie with if Scott Drew does not take the job at Kentucky, well, then it's Grant McCaslin stays at Texas Tech, Jerome Tang stays at K-State, and all's well, all's fine.
Unless you're Kentucky.
Well, unless you're Kentucky.
Like, where do you go? But where do you go after if Scott Drew
and Patino?
That'd be your only option, right?
You can't go get Sean Miller, man. That is a disaster waiting to happen. The list that Matt Jones had, it was Sean Miller, Shaka Smart. Like, dude, no. You cannot have a group like that. I would just go hire Patino at that point. That's what I would do. With Neilio back in here on YouTube says, isn't McCaslin's buyout huge? I actually don't know. I haven't seen that, and I can look it up pretty quickly here. I'm sure. I have his one from North Texas. I do not know what the Texas Tech one is. It doesn't look like it is totally massive. But I will dig into this a little bit more to see what exactly the buyout would be. Texas Tech's portion of the contract, if they were to fire McCaslin, would require them to pay 70% of the remaining contract. If McCaslin were to leave, he would owe 40% of the remaining value of his deal. I don't know exactly what that would look like, but I'm sure it's something that Baylor could pay. I mean, Baylor's got money. They could pay for that if they wanted him back. I don't know exactly what that would look like. If I'm Baylor, I feel like if I get either Jerome Tang or Grant McCaslin, I mean, I'm feeling great. Tang has had success at K-State. Big problems this year were largely things that were out of his control. Grant McCaslin had a good first year at Texas Tech, had plenty of success when he was at North Texas, and even before that at lower level mid-major programs and at the D2 level. Spent 2 years at Midwestern State, went to the Elite Eight in Division II both years. And for those who aren't tuned into D2, that's essentially like the Final Four. Like that's what D2 hypes up. You go to Evanston for the Division II Elite Eight. If I'm Baylor, I feel like, okay, my consolation prize, if we lose the greatest coach we've ever had in program history, we're going to be just fine because we're going to get a good one regardless. Is there one way you would go one way or the other, Spencer, on McCaslin or Tang?
I think it'll be McCaslin because of the length of head coaching experience.
Yeah,
and I think that might be what it comes down to. Has he been in contention for any other spots?
Grant McCaslin?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of, but I mean, he's also only been at Tech for so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, he 1 year at Texas Tech. He was at North Texas for 6 years.
Yeah.
He won 20 games or more in 5 of them. And the 1 year he only won 18. They won the Conference USA tournament and went to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Won the NIT, won the CBI his first year there. He was at Arkansas State 1 year, made the Elite Eight twice at Midwestern State. And then he was a successful JUCO coach, won a JUCO national championship at Midland College back in 2007. So he's had success everywhere he's been. He's a really, really good coach. He played at Baylor. I didn't even realize that he played at Baylor pre-Scott Drew, obviously. But he's a Baylor guy. I think you hit a home run with either one of those guys. But first, that requires Scott Drew to actually not be their head coach anymore.
Yeah.
Departing here momentarily, we got a question in from Jason in the YouTube feed. Again, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Top City Metal Supply text line is 785-272-9429. From Jason, though, he asks, what are your thoughts on Ben Sinnott in the draft? We talked a little bit about Sinnott earlier in the week and a little bit yesterday, too, I think. I like Sinnott. He is an interesting prospect to me because he's not, I don't know that he's he's kind of an in-between tight end, which you don't get a whole lot. I know I have seen some Chiefs fans, a lot of K-State overlap, who have said, well, he could be the replacement for Travis Kelce. That came up on the show the other day, talking about the contingency plan for the future with Travis Kelce. I don't know that he's that true kind of tight end, but then I've seen Packers fans, for example, who say that's the guy we want as sort of a tight end H-back crossover spot. We're going to line him up in the backfield a little bit. He can play inline, and I would love him in Green Bay. I think he's a great talent, but I don't know that you want to just stick him in as an H-back, passing down fullback, because I think he's a better athlete and a better player than being resigned just to that role in the NFL. So I don't know. I think Sinnott has an argument for being one of the 2 or 3 best tight ends in this draft class. It's not a good tight end class overall, certainly not compared to last year when you had Mayer and Laporta and Kraft and Musgrave and all these dudes who came out and were so good right away. So I think I think he can be a day 2 guy. I would guess right now he's a 3rd round pick, and I think he'll carve out a niche pretty quickly wherever he ends up. And if it is just as an H-back who can catch a bunch of passes, fine. We know he's a physical player. I think he'll be a good piece in the NFL. I would say round 3 at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's widely regarded as a top 75 pick, mid to late day 2. Like that's kind of where I've seen on multiple sources of him kind of rounding out in that in that area, somewhere in that area.
Yeah, let me pull up with Dane Brugler from The Athletic. He released his annual draft guide today. It's The Beast. If you're an Athletic subscriber, by the way, and you're interested in the draft at all, go download it and use it. It is the best resource in the NFL draft circle by leaps and bounds. I know Cooper Beebe he had in the top 40. We talked about that with Fitz a little bit ago. I don't know if he also has Ben Sinnott in there. He does have 2 KU players in his top 100. Austin Booker, 78th. My guy, Dominic Pooney, at 56. Pooney is going to make someone so happy, man. I just know it.
And you just hope it's not the Chicago Bears.
It better not freaking be the Bears. I swear to God. He does not have Sinnott top 100, but I would say he's a round 3 pick. That's where I would slot him in. We owe you another commercial break. We'll come back. We'll look ahead to Royals Astros coming up tonight here on 580 Sports Talk. 5:49 here on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Spencer with you. We've got Royals baseball coming up tonight. Pregame starts at the top of the hour. First pitch set for 6:40 tonight. Royals have won 5 in a row. Do they make it 6?
I think so, but I don't know how tomorrow's game goes.
I haven't looked ahead to what the pitching matchup for tomorrow looks like. I know tonight we've got Seth Lugo on the mound for the Royals. Spencer Arrighetti. What did Dan call him earlier? Edward Spaghetti?
Yeah.
Spencer Arrighetti, top pitching prospect for the Astros. He will make his major league debut tonight. Brady Singer versus Hunter Brown coming up tomorrow.
So I think they just decided that, how do you say his name again?
Arrighetti
was going to start like after the game last night.
Yeah.
Because I saw it was Hunter Brown at one point.
Yes, and I think they pushed that all back. I think Valdez getting scratched kind of jazzed up their whole plans for the week, which, I mean, I'm not upset the Royals aren't going to have to face Framber Valdez. Also not upset that the Royals don't have to face, oh my gosh, what is his name? He's been pitching out of his mind, and I want to make sure I get his name pronounced right. Ronel Blanco, who in his last 2 games has gone no-hitter and then 5+ no-hit innings. He has been on fire, and the Royals aren't going to have to face him either this week, which is obviously a positive. Astros are off to a slow start this year at just 4-8.
They really are.
Royals, we mentioned it earlier. Man, I can't believe that it took 28 games last year to win 7. The Royals through 28 games last year were 7-21. Yuck. This year they've got 7 wins in their first 11. It has been incredible. And to be frank, this is probably going to end up crashing back down to earth at some point. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I do not think the Royals will win 63.6% of their games. Do you know how many wins that would be if they won 63.6% of their games for the year?
100 something?
103.
Okay, I knew it was going to be low hundreds.
I don't think the Royals are going to win 100 games.
I don't think they're there yet.
No, I mean, I think you were the most optimistic of the group, right? You went with 81 when we previewed the season. I mean, even that, I think, is still a stretch. If they can even be within 15 games of 500, I think you're feeling pretty good if you're the Royals after how bad the last few years have been. But again, it all is going to be starting with the starting pitching for Kansas City. And if they can continue to get efforts out of Reagans for the most part, he was a lot more iffy yesterday, got knocked out early, allowed the 10 hits, but he has generally been very good. Brady Singer's been pitching better than he ever has in his whole career over the last couple of games. Well, compared to 2022. Back end of 2022, as far as I am concerned, that to this point has been peak Brady Singer. He was awesome during that stretch. I have a vivid memory. It was a Saturday night, and we were driving home from Pittsburgh. We had been down in Pitt for that year's Shrine Bowl, and we made the drive up, and as we were getting it to the car, we're all carrying gear, carrying the sideline stuff. I'm holding on to my chart from the game, and I think it was Dan kept updating us as we were walking to the truck on what Brady Singer was doing that night, and he was just out of his mind dealing. And I thought, this is the guy. This is who the Royals thought they were getting with the 17th overall pick back in 2018. This is the dude. And then last year was another roller coaster, which it has been for most of his career since he came up in 2020. If you can get anything like this guy, the guy they've got going out there right now who's going to get the start tomorrow afternoon for the Royals, they're in phenomenal shape. And the Royals will be as dangerous as anyone for most of the season anyway out of the American League Central. Again, 6 o'clock pregame start time, 6:40 first pitch tonight. Royals versus Astros. Seth Lugo goes for the Royals. Spencer Arrighetti for the Astros. Tomorrow, 1:10 first pitch, 12:30 pregame. Brady Singer on the mound on getaway day against Hunter Brown for the Astros. You'll be able to hear both of those games in full, plus pre and post game, right here on your home for Royals baseball, 580 WIBW. What if you get one final timeout? We'll come on back, wrap things up here on 580 Sports Talk with today's final word. right, Spencer, let's wrap it up with today's final word.
Alex Ovechkin is the greatest hockey goal scorer in the NHL, no matter if he breaks the record or not. He now has the record for most 30-goal seasons.
Wow.
30-goal seasons. If he was on the same pace that he was on these last, I think, 24 games, he would score about 0.7 goals a game, which I'm no mathematician, but that would be a very good over 82.
That's, what is it, 0.7?
Yeah.
So that would be 57.4 goals a game or per year.
It'd be amazing. That
would be amazing.
Yeah.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
So hopefully they can wrap up a spot and go to the playoffs. And if they win, if they don't, they still got their Stanley Cup. Also, I don't usually put this off, but with life changes and everything, I've yet to do my taxes. I need to get those done.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Please get your taxes done, please. Final word. We didn't get to this in headlines today. We know week 1, Brazil. It will be the Philadelphia Eagles and my Green Bay Packers. Here's a fun note for you, though. The stadium where they're playing, they have an informal ban on the color green because their arch rivals of the home team, they wear green. You know what the problem with that is? Both the Packers and Eagles wear green. Yep. Not great setup. Maybe I have to pick a new home for that game. We are back tomorrow after the Royals finale against the Astros. For Dan Lucero, for Spencer Dupuy, I'm Brendan Brzezinski. We'll talk to you then right back here on 580 Sports Talk.